Hello everyone. Welcome to a new and amazing part of What If Deku Ran an Orphanage. This story is written by the amazing Kyodon. Please remember to support them. The link to the story is in the bio below. Remember to like, sub, and share the video around for more amazing stories. Now let's start this amazing story. You sure you want to do this? No shame in backing out now. Gamma 2 said cockily, as he and Ochako stared each other down, ready to fight. Normally this would be done in the forest. However, Izuku was getting tired of having to fix the forest every time someone fought in it, so he had a new facility built. The simulation room, or sim room for short, was a room that could be accessed by an underground stairwell. When one reached the bottom, they would be met with a seemingly infinite white void. This was the simulation room. The room could change its insides to any kind of environment and simulate it perfectly. A city, a volcano, a beach, anything. You could even make custom environments for special training or relaxation. This room was a combination of Midoriya Foundation tech and tech they got from Island that had come from Chloe's negotiations. Had Izuku not had the connections he did, and if he wasn't currently the richest person in the world, building such a thing would be a pipe dream. Currently, the room was simulating the city, and it looked like Ochako and Gamma 2 were standing in the middle of the street. I'm sure. I need to get stronger, Ochako said, with a determined and slightly frustrated look on her face. She hadn't been able to push past 50% of One for All, like she was stuck, or there was something she was just missing. I want to go all out during this fight, so don't hold anything back. Well, if those are my orders. Gamma 2 smirked and got into a battle-ready stance. You better prepare yourself. Activate simulation. And then suddenly, everything came to life. People came out of the buildings and started walking on the sidewalks, talking on phones, pushing strollers with babies in them, and there were even couples arguing. Are those people? Ochako asked, shocked by how crowded things got so quickly. Nah, they're just robots. Gamma 2 said. Remember, this is supposed to be a perfect simulation. So people are necessary to simulate a city. And so are cars. Beep beep. Ochako then realized she was standing in the street of a now active city, and judging by that horn she needed to move, right now. Activating One for All at 45%. Ochako jumped up, avoiding a speeding car that was just about to run her over. The car was now speeding towards Gamma 2, who took out his gun and aimed at it. Kaboom! The shot slammed into the car, making it explode and send shrapnel flying everywhere, and making the fake crowd stop in shock before they started screaming and running away. What? Ochako didn't expect that sudden shift in tone. You said you wanted hero training. Part of that is making sure the civilians are safe, even when fighting a villain. Gamma 2 said, and so far, not doing a great job. Gamma 2 then aimed his blaster at the fleeing civilians and opened fire. Ochako rushed at the civilians and took the shots, gritting her teeth as the energy shots slammed into her, burning and bruising her skin. Everyone get away. She then flicked an air shot at Gamma 2's blaster, causing his hand to move and shoot at a building instead. Ochako rushed forward to try and attack Gamma 2, but Gamma 2 just jumped back and flew into the air before unleashing more shots at her. In response, Ochako ran into one of the buildings. Not gonna work, Gamma 2 said as he started shooting the building in specific places, causing it to collapse. Come on, I was expecting more out of you. And then, the collapsed building suddenly burst upwards, the pieces of it rushing at Gamma 2. Whoa! Gamma 2 blasted apart the debris that was flying at him, destroying it before it could hit him. But that was just a distraction. Using the time that Trick bought her, she'd run out of the rubble and snuck up behind Gamma 2, leaping at him from behind, bringing both her arms together and slamming Gamma 2 down into the concrete so hard it made the earth shake. There we go. That's more like it. Gamma 2 grunted as he pulled himself out of the creator, jumping out of it just in time, as Ochako increased her weight and slammed into the ground hard, increasing the depth of the crater and making the ground shake once again. Release. Ochako brought her fingers together and not only returned her own gravity to normal, but also returned to normal the gravity of all the rubble that she'd shot up earlier, which now came raining down on the entire area. Gamma 2 flew up through the falling rubble and into the air, and Ochako rushed after him, lunging at him and attempting to grab his foot, only for Gamma 2 to move his foot back and blast Ochako square in the face, sending her flying down. Ochako removed her own gravity, turned midair so she could face Gamma 2, and then flicked the air behind her, sending flying back toward Gamma 2. Gamma 2 flew away, and Ochako followed him, flicking the air behind her while her gravity was gone, allowing her to kind of fly at the android. But Gamma 2 was faster, and thanks to his mid-air stabilizers, he had far more maneuverability. He shot at Ochako, who tried her best to dodge them by flocking herself around. But that way of moving was so clunky and awkward that she didn't have a chance at avoiding all of them. Ag! Ochako cried in pain as the blasts hit all over her body. He's so hard to hit. I have to find a way to get closer. Instead of flicking, she punched the air behind her, sending her rocketing forward at far greater speed. But Gamma 2 reacted to this easily, ducking his entire body under Ochako as she sailed over him, wrapping his legs around her head, flipped them, and then mid-air, and then started rocketing them up, high into the sky, before flipping them downwards and flying down towards the ground at max speed. Ochako fought to try and escape, but to no avail. Gamma 2 released Ochako 3/4 of the way down, sending her plummeting headfirst towards a building. Slam! Ochako tore through the building like a bullet, blasting it apart as she crashed through each level, before coming to a stop as she crashed into the ground with such force, it caused the building to completely collapse on top of her. Gamma 2, meanwhile, did a flashy flip toward the ground, landed on his feet in front of the now-destroyed building, and did a flash pose. Behold the power of a Gamma. Half a minute later, the rubble shifted, as Ochako groggily pulled herself out of the debris, only for Gamma 2 to punch her right in the face, sending her flying back, but before she could get too far away, Gamma 2 grabbed her by the leg. Gamma 2 raised her over his head, and then slammed her into the ground. Slam, 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 slam. Again and again, the android would lift her up and slam her back down, creating the ground around him with her face, all while holding his blaster with his other hand and charging it. After half a minute of slams, Gamma 2 lifted her back over his head, spun her around, and then threw her into the air before lifting his blaster aiming at her. It's over. PWM. A massive charged shot flew out of Gamma 2's blaster, right at Ochako. But before it could hit her, Ochako managed to regain her senses just a bit, enough to touch herself and increase her gravity, causing her to fall to the ground and letting the blast sail over her. Dockum. The blast sailed on, before hitting the invisible ceiling and shaking the entire fake city. Oh, hopefully, that didn't damage the room too much. Gamma 2 winced, already knowing he'd get a dressing down from Gamma 1 if he'd done significant damage to the room. Meanwhile, Ochako slammed into the ground and lay in the crater she'd created, battered, burned and bruised, and extremely disoriented. Her head and her stomach in particular were killing her. Ugh. I only landed a single hit on him. How am I supposed to beat him if I can't touch him? Ochako felt a deep, burning frustration. How was she supposed to protect the city, her friends, and Izuku, and all his kids, if she was losing this miserably? She had All Might's quirk, so why was she struggling so much? This frustration motivated her to push herself up, despite all the pain. If she was going to lose, she'd have to at least lose less pathetically. While she was getting on her feet, Gamma 2 flew above her. All right, now it's time to end this, for real. As Gamma 2 took out his blaster, but before he could fire, Ochako delivered an open palm strike to the ground around her, removing its gravity and destroying it, causing everything to rise up in a wave of dust and debris. In the veil of this wave, she jumped over to another building behind Gamma 2 and kept at him from behind again, only to get kicked in the face and sent flying back by Gamma 2. Not gonna work twice. Gamma 2 smirked as he aimed at her. As Gamma 2 was charging the shot and Ochako flew away, everything started to slow down, and Ochako extended her hand out. If only I could just reach him. Then suddenly, the lightning that normally crackled around Ochiko's body turned black, and then black energy tendrils flew out of her wrist. The tendrils wrapped around Gamma 2's arm, stopping his attack outright. What the? Act! More black tendrils rushed at him, hitting him in the chest and sending him flying into a building. What is this? Ochako gasped as tendrils kept pouring out of her wrist, getting longer and wider, and wildly rampaging about, slamming into everything around her, leaving destruction in their wake, and flailing Ochiko around like a rag doll. Whoa, whoa, whoa. H, how did I turn this off? Well, first you gotta calm down, said a gruff voice in her head. Huh? Who are you? Why are you in my head? What's even happening? Ochiko shouted out in confusion. I told you to calm down. The voice yelled frustratedly. My quirk isn't what it used to be. One for All has powered it up a crap ton. If you don't cool your jets, you're just gonna keep destroying everything around you. Okay, weird voice in my head, Ochiko said. Why can't my life be normal for 5 minutes? She took a deep breath and tried to calm herself. Think about calming things. Nice things. Playing with the kids. Eating mochi with Izuku. Going out shopping. Calm down, Ochiko. It took a minute, but slowly, very slowly, the black tendrils started to calm and stop running rampant. Eventually, the energy tendrils started to fade away until they were finally gone, and Ochiko started falling to the ground. Gamma 2 caught her in his arms before she landed. All right, I think it's safe to say this sparring session is over. Yeah, Ochiko groaned. She felt so much more tired than she did a moment ago for some reason. Perhaps it had something to do with those strange black things. Ugh, what was that? Why are you asking me? Just because I'm an android doesn't mean I know everything. Gamma 2 said, but I do know someone who does. Let's go see the doctor, shall we? Yeah, let's, Ochiko said, before letting herself finally pass out. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX Instead, she found herself in a black void, staring at 8 thrones. On those thrones were people. One of them looked kind of like All Might, but his body was covered in flames, making it hard to discern their identity. There were also 2 thrones that were empty, as 2 of the people who were presumably supposed to be in them were standing and looking away from her. "We've been waiting for you since the 9th," said a white-haired man. Ochiko wanted to ask who they were, but she couldn't speak. She looked down and found that half of her body was covered in this weird black mist, including her mouth. "You won't be able to speak yet, so just listen," the white-haired man said. "It's about time you've started mastering elements of One for All aside from just the power enhancement. We're talking about our quirks, of course," said a bald man wearing black, somewhat baggy clothes, including a jacket, yet no shirt. "The one you just used was my quirk, Black Whip. It's a hell of a lot more powerful than it was when I used it, which means it'll be a lot harder to control. Which is why we needed you to reach this level of mastery in order to unlock it," the white-haired man said. "If we'd unlocked it for you earlier, then you'd have been unable to use it at all, due to the strain it put on your body. However, with the new threat that's arising, and All Might no longer able to use our power, we need to speed things up. All for One may have been defeated, but what he left behind is no less monstrous," said the only woman among them. "I can feel it even now. The agony from All for One's many years of evil has taken form to wreak vengeance on the world. You and your allies must put those remnants to rest. You're blessed with powerful allies. Do your best to keep up with them," the white-haired man said. Ochiko Uraraka. XXXXXXXXXXXXXX. Oh. Ochiko woke up again, this time in a bed in the infirmary of the Midoriya Foundation. Ochiko. Izuku was standing over her, surprised to see she'd woken up, before quickly shifting to relief. "Oh, thank goodness. What happened?" Ochiko asked, trying to get her bearings. She winced as she pulled herself up, as her body was still sore from the spar. "Gamma 2 brought you to the lab for analysis, and a couple hours later you were brought to him," Izuku explained. "I already saw what happened, by the way. I'm impressed you managed to get something like that under control so quickly." "Me too," Ochiko said honestly, as she looked down at her worst. "So, what did the lab find?" "Something about your chaos energy signature has changed," Izuku explained. "They said it was like something had been unchained inside of you, or rather inside of One for All. They still need to go over it more to find out anything more detailed." "No, I think that confirms something for me," Ochiko said. "Izuku, I think I'm going to need to ask your help a bit more." Kiba flexed her hand, clenching and unclenching her fist repeatedly. She'd finally gotten full control over her body again. She could move without any difficulties or weird issues. "How are you feeling?" Hada asked as he looked down at Kiba in her bed. "Good. I can move my body like I used to, although I feel light." Kiba frowned. In fact, her body felt very different, but she couldn't figure out how to describe it. That would be the enhancements that Garaki made, Hada said. We want to run some tests to see exactly how much stronger you've become. Do you feel like you can take the tests now, or do you want to wait a while? I'll do it, Kiba said, with a determined look on her face. I want to see what they did to me. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXX. Kiba was guided to a test chamber, and inside that chamber was Sakio, waiting patiently. Now she was wearing a more extravagant outfit. A black and red dress with a red bow around her neck. A big black witch's hat, again with a red bow on it. A red slit was painted on her forehead, and her hair was now perfectly brushed. So you're Kiba? Sakio said, looking Kiba over thoroughly. People talk about you a lot. As they should. I am the great Kiba after all. Kiba said proudly, her face turning red from feelings of elation, knowing her family still had her in their minds and hearts. But who are you? I guess you're a new arrival. Technically, Sakio answered. Sakio is a Grimm. The first sentient Grimm, said Hada over the speakers. Wait, what? Kiba asked, her eyes going wide, as she stared at Sakio in awe. Wait. You mean to tell me Yami had a daughter? I'm an aunt. Technically, Sakio answered. Although my father chose to see me as a sister. But you still call him father? Kiba asked, raising an eyebrow. It just happens. Sakio shrugged. Now, shall we start with the test? Sakio is being powered by the negative energy storage we have nearby. And she's even more unkillable than Fu. So don't worry about holding back. Hada said. Although, I'd appreciate it if you didn't aim for the heart. Her heart getting destroyed makes her regeneration take longer. Got it. Kiba looked over at Sakio and took a deep breath. All right, let's see what we're made of. And then Kiba was promptly covered in a black aura. Huh. Slam. Suddenly Kiba was slammed into a wall by an invisible force. In actuality, it was Sakio making use of telekinesis. Except it wasn't really telekinesis. She just wrapped things up in a negative energy barrier and then started moving them around. Slam. 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 Sakio continued to slam Kiba into the walls, but Kiba wasn't harmed. Kiba moved her arm and immediately broke the barrier that was surrounding her body. Interesting. Sakio frowned. She broke through that barrier so easily. I can't beat her in a battle of strength. Waving her hand, Sakio made 5 Deathstalkers and sent them to Kiba. Kiba punched the one closest to her, and it instantly shattered to pieces, and the wind pressure from her punch pushed the other one back and forced Sakio to put a shield around her. Kiba looked at her fist in shock. Whoa. Indeed, you are very strong, Sakio said. She dispelled her Deathstalkers and focused her power into her force field while putting her hand behind her back. It seems a queen is a good match for a witch. I doubt I could fight you so easily in my old form, Kiba admitted before smirking. But it seems those villains made a grave mistake and unlooked my true potential. Kiba dashed forward and punched Sakio's barrier, shattering it, only for Sakio to quickly repair it. Smash, 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 smash. Kiba continued to casually smash apart the barrier with only one hand, before deciding to get a bit serious, destroying the barrier with one hand and punching Sakio in the face with the other. Sakio's head immediately exploded like a watermelon, but that didn't stop her from attacking. She moved the hand that was behind her in front of her, aimed right at Kiba's chest, and unleashed the attack she was charging. Bear, a huge black beam, twice the size of Kiba's body, slammed into her, knocking her back and holding her against the wall as the energy slammed against her. Her hospital gown was immediately destroyed, and Kiba could feel the energy burning her, tearing at her skin and pressing against her bones and organs. But she could also feel something else. Her body was fighting back, even without her having to do anything. Her wounds were fixing themselves before they could even fully form, making it seem at first glance like this powerful attack was doing nothing. Although it did hurt like hell, Kiba grabbed the wall and forced herself to the ground before attempting to walk through the beam. The beam was made up of all the negative energy Sakio had available to her at the time, which was quite a bit due to the negative energy storage nearby. So even with her enhanced strength, Kiba struggled to walk through the beam. What's worse was that she was getting weaker and weaker at an extraordinary pace due to the strain of having to struggle against the beam and regenerate the damage. She was using up her blood storage fast. I have to get out of the beam. And so, Kiba jumped up out of the beam's range and into the air. In response, Sakio just moved the beam up. "Oh," Kiba said as the beam quickly started coming up at her. How could she dodge it if she couldn't move in midair? At least that's what she thought. Suddenly, she felt something bulging in her back, and then a pair of black bat wings sprouted. With an instinctual flap of her wings, she flew to the left, dodging the beam. Huh. Kiba immediately turned her head to look at her new wings. A shocked expression overtakes her features, making her mouth hang open. "I can fly." Sakio moved her beam to follow Kiba, but she flew around to avoid it. Huh, this is surprisingly easy, Kiba thought as she flew around. She felt some kind of instinct or muscle memory, like she'd done this before somehow. I can't hit her like this, Sakio thought as she tried to think of ways to attack, only for her arms to get grabbed by her own shadow. What? Oh, Kiba didn't really know how she did that. She just wanted to stop Sakio from attacking, and another instinct activated in her, as if something was telling her how to use her power, only in a very basic way. The shadow wrapped around Sakio, holding her in place. "Let me go," Sakio growled as she struggled against the shadow. "I'd say I've won this bout." Kiba laughed confidently. "Not yet," Sakio shouted, as she created a force field from her body, and then expanded it, forcing the shadow off of her. Then she flew up, floating in the air using her pseudo-telekinesis. Then she used her power to make copies of herself. Each one started shooting dark beams at Kiba, but she flew through them, taking minimal damage and smashing apart each clone with blinding speed, before landing a blow on the real one, once again destroying her head and sending her body flying into the walls so hard it splat. Before Sakio could counter, Kiba rushed at her body and punched right through her stomach. And while Kiba's fist was in her stomach, Sakio grabbed Kiba's face and dug her fingers into Kiba's eyes. "Ah!" Kiba cried out in pain. She flew back as she held her bleeding eyes. They were rapidly regenerating, but it still hurt like hell. "All right, that's enough," Hada said over the loudspeaker. "Test is over. Let's calm down now." XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX. A couple days after that test, they got a pretty good idea of Kiba's abilities. It also confirmed what they already knew. Kiba's strength was far too dangerous to let her go back to the house, at least at the moment. Naturally, with the many geniuses that had available to them, a solution to this issue didn't take long to find. Snap! Darn it! Kiba hissed as she broke yet another stress ball. She'd been trying for hours now to control her strength, but to little avail. She was just too strong. The door slid open, and Mai came in, holding a black piece of clothing. "Hey Kiba, we've finally managed to finish it. All we need to do is test it." "Test what?" Kiba asked, having no idea what she was talking about. "All right, I guess I need to introduce this latest invention." Mai pulled up the outfit, revealing that it was a bull-body, super tight-looking suit. This is the restrictor suit. It's made to restrict your strength, putting you back at a level of power you were before you were altered, without increasing your blood consumption by much. With this, you should be able to control your strength, while also using your other new abilities. "Wonderful. Excellent work, as always, Dr." Kiba said as she took the suit, grinning ear to ear. Quickly she put it on and immediately noticed a difference. Aside from how tight the suit was, her movements felt far heavier, but not enough to hamper her day-to-day activities or even keep her from fighting. She just felt far more in control of her own strength. Kiba picked up a stress ball and squeezed. And this time, the ball didn't break. She smiled. "Truly magnificent. Now I can finally return to my fortress." "Uh-huh. We just need to run a few more tests to make absolutely certain you're okay to go back," Mai said. "I'm sure they're all waiting to see you." "That's right." Kiba jumped up and punched the air. "The Queen of Eternal Darkness. It's back. Hello, my loyal subjects," Kiba said to her camera. "She's back. Lady Kiba, please start making videos again. Lady Kiba must return. I love you, Lady K. Thank you for your patience, my loyal subjects. But I've finally fully recovered, which means the videos shall return," Kiba announced proudly. "But before we do anything else, I must show you how things have changed since I last broadcasted. So come, let me show you how things have developed." Kiba went to leave her room, with Fu following her carrying the camera. But as soon as she opened the door, she was hit in the face by a cream pie. "Ah-ha-ha," played the laugh track as Ko stood in the doorway with a huge smirk on her face. "Oh dear." Run, new girl. Run. It's just a prank, bro, to calm down. LOL. Kiba wiped most of the pie from her face. You must be that girl I've heard so much about. Credit where credit is due. You've definitely left a memorable first impression. So I suppose I should return the favor. She then grabbed Ko by her sides, took her into her room, and then showered her upside down, head first into her small garbage pail. Then she bent the garbage pail, so her head would be stuck. There we go. Kiba dusted her hands and took a wet towel Fu gave her to get the rest of the pie off her, as Ko struggled around, still upside down. Damn, she said, you trash. You get what you get. Prank at your own risk. All right, now we can go, Kiba said as she finished cleaning up. Onwards. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXX. They arrived at the library and found Sakio reading a book. She was once again in her witch-like attire and was reading what looked like a young adult fantasy novel. Behold, Yami's ultimate creation, and kind of his daughter, but he calls her a sister, Kiba said as she revealed Sakio on camera. A mighty and sentient grim. Sakio. What? Yami had a freaking what? Since when could Yami create life? I thought he couldn't make living things. I guess he can make anything. Damn, his quirk is strong. Midoriya is a grandpa now? Ma, they're doing weird shit again. Just think of her as another sister. It makes things easier, Fu said. Kiba, did you just disturb my reading and introduce me to your viewers? Sakio said as she placed a bookmark in her book and closed it, before looking up at Kiba and Fu. How could we not? You gave me quite the battle before, so I'd like to work with you more. Kiba said, I suppose that could prove helpful in me learning how to use my abilities. Sakio shrugged. Fine, I'll appear on your little streams. Do you need me for anything? We're just introducing you, Kiba said. Maybe later we can fight, and we can show them what we're made of. Why do I get the feeling Lady Kiba is hiding something? Fight, fight, fight. I have a feeling this stream is going to have a climactic end. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX came out. Apologies, Kiba. We're currently not available to be streamed. Our work must remain a secret until it is done. Oh God, it's something worse than spiders. Don't be rude. At least when Kiba sucks blood, she doesn't make the wound itch for no reason. Probably. Looks like the bugs are sticking together. You know that sounds rude when I say it out loud. Everyone, this is Kano, a new sister and Shiroku's partner. Kiba explained. She's also training to be a hero from what I hear. Of course she is. Most of the kids here want to be heroes. Probably for the best. Yes, Shiroku mentioned it was a great way to advertise our fashion, Kano said, before looking at the camera. If all of you want to look as fabulous as we do, please visit the Midoriya Foundation online store under the fan page. If you want a custom order, please give in your name, address, email, phone number, and measurements and pay. Then you'll receive an estimate of when your order will arrive. Due to varying circumstances, orders can be delayed. If you have any complaints, please head to our customer service page. Geez, capitalism strikes again. I respect the hustle. All right, the advertising is done. I think we're done here, Kiba said. Now, let's move on to the main event. Kiba and Fu were now standing in front of a door in an extremely small building. And here we are, the most exciting part of our tour. Okay, what the hell could be in a building that small? Maybe it'll be way bigger on the inside like the TARDIS. Maybe it is the TARDIS. Wouldn't surprise me, honestly. Kiba and Fu opened the door, and inside was a large elevator. They went inside and pushed the down button. The elevator came to life and started bringing them down, underground. A few minutes later, they arrived at their destination, and the doors opened, revealing a seemingly infinite white void. What the fuck? Honestly, I'd be disappointed if it wasn't something insane. Ah yes, of course, they have the void under their property. Of course they do. What is this? Welcome to the simulation room, or the sim room. Kiba introduced me. I believe its abilities are best shown, rather than told. Sim room, take over my stream, and show me a villain attack on the beach. Suddenly, Kiba's stream was no longer being broadcasted via Fu's camera. Rather, it was being shown on invisible cameras in the room. The room then suddenly shifted and changed. A blue sky hung above them with the sun shining down. The solid ground beneath them was replaced with sand, and an ocean formed in front of them. And just like that, they were on a beach. Then, the most generic-looking villains popped out of the sand, and a big shark-faced villain popped out of the water, surrounding them. What? How? How does that even work? Is that all real? The sim room will make a perfect simulation of almost anything you want, Kiba explained. Room. Changed to a city. The sand and water drained away, replaced with roads and concrete, and buildings rose out of the ground until a perfect recreation of a city was made. Changed to a volcano, Kiba said. The entire city sunk into the ground turned to hard rock, and a massive volcano emerged from the ground. See, anything, Kiba said. This technology is amazing. I wish I could have one of these so bad. Can someone buy one of these in the Midoriya store? Can I join the Midoriya research branch? Does the UA have one of these? Unfortunately, this place is stupidly expensive. Like there are some countries who couldn't afford one of these. Fu explained, we're still working on making the technology less expensive. So for now, it's exclusive to the Midoriya Foundation. That makes sense. Damn it. Why must the rich hog all the good stuff? It probably also uses technology Midoriya doesn't want to get out, so we probably won't see it anytime soon. That sucks. Sad face. Now then. Room. Coliseum. Fu said. The room changed once again, sinking everything into the ground. Then around their feet, a coliseum formed around them, with the two of them at the center. Hey, Kiba. Fu busted out a red vial. Why don't we show them our new power-ups? Fu drank the vial, and a moment later, Fu's body started growing, and Kyosei wrapped around his growing form until Fu was now an all-might-sized monster covered in Kyosei's black goop, with a huge gaping maw with razor-sharp teeth and creepy long red tongue. What the hell was in that vial? Was that Trigger? Did Fu just take a drug? Trigger doesn't look like that, and you have to inject it, not drink it. I don't know what that was. Might concentrate. Fu explained, his voice now deep and monstrous. Made from the might fruit, it can enhance a person's power better than a trigger. But it tears up your body. Lucky for us, that's not a problem. Impressive. But you're a fool if you think you can challenge me, Kiba said, as she cracked her knuckles and wings grew from her back. Since when did she have wings? What the fudge is happening? Behold my quirk awakening, Kiba said proudly. It was a lie, of course, but she couldn't very well tell everyone what had actually happened to her. It would hurt her caretaker's image. And this is just the beginning of my new power. Watch, and take note of my terrible power. Fu shot out dozens of tendrils at Kiba, and Kiba tried to fly around and dodge them, but they were too fast and wrapped all around her. Not bad, Kiba smirked, and then the shadows rose up, turning into razor blades and cutting the tendrils. But not enough. Okay, this is not from a quirk awakening. What really happened during the hiatus? What are you hiding? She really is the queen of eternal darkness now. Is that multiple quirks? Fu shot out more tendrils, but Kiba formed a shadow sword and cut them all to ribbons as she flew towards Fu. When she reached him, she rapidly started cutting Fu's body apart. It would have turned him into bite-sized cubes, but Fu's regeneration was so fast that as soon as she cut him, his wounds healed, making it look like the sword went through him with no damage at all. Fu grabbed Kiba by the mouth and started inserting some of Kyosei into her. Kiba ripped off Fu's hand and flew back. Fu's hand regrew in less than a second, and Fu smirked. Game over. Kiba felt something crawling around her body, and suddenly she couldn't move. Something was keeping her limbs in place from the inside. Well, what did you do? Normally, once a piece of Kyosei separates from the main body, he can't control it anymore. But thanks to the might extract, we can control any piece of Kyosei, whether it's attached to us or not. Fu explained. If we wanted, we could stop your blood from flowing and knock you right out. It's our win. Kiba stared at him, in both wonder and bafflement. But after a few moments, she smiled and laughed. Ahaha. Finally, it looks like you actually won against me for once. Took you long enough. Although I was holding back to be fair. Congrats, I guess. Drugs for the win. Well, it's from a fruit, so I guess it's natural. We can't call it cheating since it's not like Kiba's using just her own power either, probably. I guess we don't really know what's going on there. Whatever's going up here, I have a feeling it's something Midoriya doesn't want us to know. See Hupensive 38. So we're all in agreement that the Sky Pirates work for Midoriya, right? Magnetsbike. Oh yeah, definitely. 40 Capital. Here come the conspiracy theories. See Hupensive 38. Conspiracy theory? They somehow snuck onto his heavily guarded land, stole the flying pirate ship he was conveniently making, and that they somehow knew was there. Then they go around attacking Midoriya's enemies. Passive 77. It's pretty obvious. All the corporations they've targeted were proven to be Midoriya's enemies and run by villains. And after those corporations got dissolved, they started plundering the remnants while also dealing with other villainous organizations. They've never been proven to kill anyone, and all the people who lost their jobs because of their antics were either secretly evil and arrested, or conveniently hired by the Midoriya Foundation soon after. And they've never targeted the Midoriya Foundation after stealing the ship. Coolest 555. Actually, they just raided a Midoriya Foundation delivery mint for the HPSC. Explain that, dumbass. See Upensive 38. He's ordered them to do that, just to keep up appearances. He knows if they don't attack him sometimes, then it'll be suspicious. Hardbreather 888. Or, they stole the ship, decided not to attack Midoriya very often to make sure he doesn't prioritize them. Attacked those guys by coincidence. It wasn't only them. They attacked some unrelated companies, and since they have some semblance of a moral code, they don't kill when they don't need to. Midoriya feels bad for the people who've gotten hurt because of one of his inventions, so he hires people who lost their jobs due to the Sky Pirates. Not everything needs to be some hidden conspiracy about how every rich person is evil. See Upensive 38. We're not even saying he's evil. He's just had enough of people attacking his fucking house for no other reason than because he's quirkless. And so he decided to go around the law to fight back. And you know what? I don't blame him. Fuck those guys. Soot, I wouldn't go that far. He should let the heroes do their jobs rather than twisting the law because it suits him. Superior 1. While obviously he's not trustworthy, he's quirkless. History shows those bastards will do anything to drag down their betters to make up for them being lacking. See Upensive 38. Okay, can all agree on this. Fuck Superior 1. Q to right. Superior 1. Kill yourself. Soot. Okay, I agree the guy is an asshole, but calm down. 22-25 up. See this? Classic inferior behavior. People like you and Midoriya just don't understand that we're just better than you. In fact, Midoriya Izuku is one of the richest and most powerful people on the planet. He helped kill All for One, who even All Might had trouble with, and could destroy a small nation with the snap of his fingers. You are nothing compared to him. Yell 55. Quirkists are deluded. They should be purged. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX it's definitely not a mysterious illness because the Midoriya Foundation can fix that shit in an instant. It's not a quirk awakening because her quirk had nothing to do with wings or controlling shadows. That's just not how a quirk awakening works. Lifehack 356. Experimentation. It has to be. With all the crazy shit Midoriya can do, it wouldn't be surprising if they can give people multiple quirks. Did you hear the rumors about those crystals that can give you multiple quirks? Maybe he put one of those inside her. Quest 777. I don't think Midoriya would do experiments on his own kids. Especially not when volunteers willingly help test his stuff. Volunut 11. If he did augment her body, I am sure the procedure was safe and tested thoroughly on those volunteers. It just makes sense. Why would all those kids love him so much if he was secretly doing unsafe experiments on them against their will? Lunk 8. But why keep it secret then? Volunut 11. Probably to keep people from freaking out. Some people are already getting all whiny about the amount of power the Midoriyas have, so letting them know he can just make people stronger on a whim would make them throw a fit. Might even launch another quirkist attack on him. Shut up 7. Wake up sheeple. Midoriya is gathering all the strongest kids around the world and doing experiments to make them even stronger, so he can have an army of superpowered minions. And of course, they still love him. They're stupid kids. They don't know any better. Midoriya is a scumbag who has to use other people's power because he doesn't have any on his own. Istanim, shut up 7, before the mods kick your ass out. Let me tell you just how wrong you are. First of all, kids aren't stupid. If Midoriya was really doing some messed up stuff to them, then not every single one of them would just accept it. At least one of them would rebel. And here is the most damning piece of evidence that debunks all this nonsense. If Midoriya could do all this crazy shit like give people more quirks, why is he still quirkless? The only reason he has to deal with all this bullshit is because he's quirkless. So if he could, why not just give himself a quirk? announce it, and be done with the whole thing. Because he can't. Dumb assess. CA8. As someone whose mother was cured thanks to Midoriya, I can't fucking stand these dumbass trying to besmirch his good name. Eye roll. Do you really think he cares about you? He only released that damn cure-all so he could make money. It's pretty clear you're the dumbass here. CA8. We actually couldn't afford the cure. But we called the Midoriya Foundation, and they made us a deal. I would work in one of the Midoriya Foundation factories, and a quarter of my paycheck would be taken until I could pay back what I owed. No interest, and we got the cure immediately. And you know what? Both my hours and my pay working for Midoriya are better than my previous job, even taking into account the quarter taken out. So you can go fuck yourself to death, bastard. Eye roll. You really think he did that out of the kindness of his heart? Look at you. Loyal slave to the Midoriya Foundation. He's doing this shit so people think he's some kind of saint, and he gets more workers out of it. Soon enough he'll conquer the whole damn world, and idiots are just letting it happen. Farfluff 78. Honestly, Midoriya would likely be a better world leader than any of the ones we currently have. So I don't see the problem. Redro 43. These quirkists are really fucking annoying. A cancer on society. We should just fucking get rid of them, am I right? BB6. Yeah, let's get a purge going on. Midoriya and Lady Kiba shouldn't have to suffer these idiots. Flash R5. I wish Stain would go after those fuckers. That's a real crusade. Bound in blood. This is seriously the 18th thread I've had to shut down because of shit like this. Can you guys calm the fuck down? XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX. R57. So Yuji, those gammas are pretty neat, huh? Who mean 888? You think the sentient robots that could wipe out an entire city in a couple minutes are neat? 4490. Yeah, am I the only one who's freaking out about this? The robot overlords have come. RR665. Would you all relax? According to the Midoriya Foundation website, their minds don't work differently from ours. It's like being afraid of All Might just because he could destroy half a nation in a few hours. Just because they can, doesn't mean they will. Who mean 888? Oh, don't buy that freaking propaganda. I bet everything on that page is either cherry-picked or a flat-out lie. Don't you understand that these corporations will do anything for a profit? Humanity be damned. Us 7 ugh. Stop talking about things you have no idea about. I doubt you're some kind of robotics specialist who can understand how the gammas work. You're just spouting nonsense. Who mean 888? Typical corporate bootlicker. Maybe even paid by Midoriya. If anyone thinks Midoriya Izuku is any different from all the other soulless billionaires, you're deluded. 99 water hose. You just mad cause you poor. Get good scrub. WRRRRRRR. The sounds of police sirens ran out, as many police cars were gathered around a bank. Damn it, where are the heroes? Said the head officer. Right here. Gamma 1 and 2 flew down, landing in front of the officer. What's the situation? Gamma 1 asked as she scanned the building. 16 people are being held hostage. The head officer said. 17, Gamma 1 corrected. And there are 19 villains. The officer continued. 20, Gamma 2 corrected. Why did you even ask me? The officer thought. We'll take care of it. Gamma 1 said as he and Gamma 2 walked up to the building. If anyone enters, they'll shoot the hostages. The officer called out. Then we won't enter the building. Gamma 2 said as he and Gamma 1 pulled out their blasters and aimed at the building. PWM. 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 The 2 androids opened fire on the building, absolutely tearing it up and creating dozens of holes. After a few moments, they stopped. All villains subdued. Gamma 1 said as he and Gamma 2 holstered their blasters. Gamma 2 doing a little twirl as he did so. Take them away. Have a nice day. Gamma 2 said as the 2 of them flew away. Fucking robots. The officer swore. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXX. Gah. Death Arms cried as he got knocked flat, across the ground of a construction site. The one who knocked him away was a ranked villain, Cinderblock. A villain the size of a small building, and seemingly made out of pure concrete. Damn it. Kamui stood on top of an I-beam on the unfinished building, and wrapped Cinderblock in his wood, only for Cinderblock to snap the sturdy wood like feeble twigs. None of our attacks are phasing him. Rah! Cinderblock roared, as he picked up a cement mixer, and threw it at Kimui, who dodged it with ease. Huh. MT Lady tried to kick him, but while that did push him back a bit, it also nearly broke MT Lady's foot. Ack. Ow. 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 Cinderblock ran forward and grabbed MT Lady's leg and started squeezing it. Ack. Fuck. Let go, asshole. MT Lady cried as she tried to get Cinderblock off her, but she couldn't move her leg. Ah. Cinderblock squeezed harder and harder, bruising her skin and causing her bones to creak under the pressure. But before he could do any lasting damage, Gamma 2 came in and kicked Cinderblock in the head, sending him flying over to the side. Then Gamma 1 slammed into Cinderblock at top speed, kneeing him in the face and making a huge crater. Ugh. Cinderblock groaned as he passed out. Nice work holding him off, guys. See ya. Gamma 2 said as he and 1 flew off. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX. Die, you scum. Break. A large crowd had gathered in front of an expensive-looking house, screaming insults and threats, while throwing stuff at the house, from crumpled-up paper to bricks. This was the house of a politician who was known to oppose most things that would help those with weaker quirks, or the quirkless. You're what's holding our country back. Do you have no shame? Go to hell already. Bang. Suddenly, a ball of energy shot into the air and exploded, getting everyone's attention and causing them to stop whatever they were doing. The gammas flew down in between the crowd and the house. Everyone, this is not worth it. Gamma 1 told them. I understand your anger. Believe me, I do. As someone who only exists because of Mr. Midoriya's kindness, I find it extremely frustrating that people like this exist. But mindless violence isn't the solution. I'm sure many of you have loved ones. Perhaps even loved ones who are going through tough times because of this scum. But they don't need you to get yourselves arrested. They need you by their side, helping and reassuring them. And you can't do that from prison. You can't get rid of all the assholes. There is always going to be more. Gamma 2 said, even if you get rid of this guy, another 10 are going to come along. Or at least they will if you guys don't stop them. And not like this. Do peaceful protests and demand better from all our government officials. And most importantly, teach the new generation to not be such hateful bastards. Seriously, if you guys just focused on making sure the youth grew up right, we wouldn't be having this problem. And you know what doesn't help the kids get that lesson? The people who are supposed to be teaching it, being in prison. You get the message, right? I don't have to keep repeating myself. Go home. Or go protest. Peacefully. So we don't have to arrest you. I mean, technically we should be arresting some of you for property damage, but nah. You didn't have to say that last part out loud. Gamma 1 sighed. The crowd broke out into quiet mumbles as they took in the Gamma's words and wondered if they really should continue. Eventually, they started to leave. Whether because they were convinced by the Gamma's words, or because they knew that attempting to get past the robots half as strong as All Might would be utterly futile, they all dispersed. Well, that went well. Gamma 2 said while stretching. Why are you doing that? Gamma 1 asked. Doing what? Gamma 2 asked, continuing to stretch. That. Stretching. We have no need for that. So why are you doing it? Gamma 1 clarified. It's pointless. And it's thinking like that. That makes you the less popular one. Gamma 2 smirked. We can say we think like humans, or we have human-like souls. All we want. But actions speak louder than words. People don't like seeing cold, ruthless efficiency in their heroes. So little stuff like this goes a long way when it comes to putting them at ease. How are you so intelligent when it comes to this? But when it comes to not letting all for one know about our secret weapon, you drop the ball so hard it burrows into the earth. Gamma 1 asked, is it a bug? Ha ha ha. Gamma 2 laughed sarcastically as the two started flying into the sky. Never gonna let me live that down. Sniff. Sniff. A little girl in the park looked down at her fallen ice cream. She tripped just a little bit, and just like that, her ice cream was gone. And she didn't have enough money for another one. Don't cry. Don't cry. The girl thought to herself as she struggled to keep in the tears. If Daddy sees you crying, he'll. Hey there. The girl looked up and saw Gamma 2 standing next to her, looking down at her with a kind smile. Looks like you had a bit of an accident, huh? Gamma 2 said. Well, it's a good thing there's a superhero here to save the day. Come on, little lady. Let's go get you some more ice cream. Gamma 2 extended his hand, and the little girl looked at it for a minute before hesitantly taking it. Gamma 1 watched from above as Gamma 2 led the little girl back to the ice cream stand and bought her a new one, while also buying one for himself, before taking her to a bench where they could sit and eat together. After a few moments, he flew down in front of the two. Two, come here for a second. Gamma 2 sighed. If you're going to scold me for taking a break, then dash. It's not about that. Gamma 1 said. Just come here, it's important. If Gamma 2 had an eyebrow, he would have raised it, but all the same, he figured this had to be important. He turned to the little girl. Just wait a second. I'll be right back. He got up, and he and Gamma 1 went off to the side. Have they scanned the girl's chaos energy signature? Gamma 1 asked. What? No. I don't go around scanning random people. One. That's just kinda creepy. Gamma 2 said, looking a bit baffled. Gamma 1 sighed and shook his head. Scan her. Right now. Again, Gamma 2 wished he had eyebrows to raise. All right. Geez. He turned his head to the girl and activated his chaos energy scanner. Oh. Gamma 2 saw the problem. There were foreign chaos energy signatures in certain places on her body, which meant someone used a quirk on her. All right, I'll take care of it. Gamma 2 said, his voice devoid of the usual lax tone he used. He went back to the girl and sat down. Hey, are you enjoying your ice cream? The girl nodded. Uh-huh, thank you. Gamma 2 gave her a sad smile. You're welcome, but I have something I'd like to ask you. Has someone used their quirk on you recently? Immediately, the girl froze, and Gamma 2 could detect fear rising inside of her, meaning that this was definitely a worst-case scenario. The girl stayed silent for a while, looking only at her ice cream while she sweats bullets. Hey, look at me, Gamma 2 said, and the girl did so hesitantly. You can trust me. I promise. I won't let anything bad happen to you, no matter what you say. Got it. The girl still looked scared and hesitant, but Gamma 2 could tell he was getting to her. My daddy uses his quirk to heal me whenever I get hurt. I see. And how did you get hurt? Gamma 2 already knew the answer to that. The places she got healed told him where she got hurt, and those places weren't places that typically got hurt in an accident. Especially not in that way. It was an accident. The girl lied, and Gamma 2 detected her heart rate going up. Instead of bombarding her with further questions, Gamma 2 put his hand on her head and started petting the top of her head to soothe her. Take a breath and calm down. Remember what I promised you, and try to calm down. You don't have to be afraid or hide anything. It's going to be okay. The girl did as Gamma 2 said and breathed, trying her best to calm herself. Daddy. Mommy and Daddy said I can't tell anybody, but I'm really scared. I don't want Daddy to hurt us anymore. Well, don't worry, Gamma 2 assured her. He won't. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX Gamma 1 and 2 watched on the side. Gamma 2 was holding the girl's hand as she watched, and Gamma 1 was holding her baby brother. The father had been physically and mentally abusing his family for quite some time, all while using his healing quirk to make sure no one ever found out. And the mother, she's lying. I'm telling you, she's lying. The mother shouted as the police escorted her to another car. She had convinced herself that the abuse her husband inflicted on them was justified and aided in covering it up. She would be going to a mental hospital to get her issues sorted out. The girl's grip on Gamma 2's hand tightened. Mr. Hero, are you sure that this is a good thing? Stopping abuse and standing up for yourself is always a good thing, Gamma 2 assured her. Thanks to your bravery, your mother can get the mental help she desperately needs, and your brother won't have to grow up in that nightmare of an environment. Gamma 1 said, you were the hero today. Remember that. Then the police came up to them. All right, kids. You're going to be staying with your grandparents from now on. Let's go. The Gammas handed off the kids to the police. As the girl got into the car, she looked at the Gammas, who waved goodbye as the girl was driven away. Ugh. Gamma 2 sighed. Good catch, 1. I would have missed that if it wasn't for you. And I'm not sure I would have gotten her to talk. Gamma 1 admitted. Keep that spirit too. Although I'd appreciate it if you used your head more. And I don't mean for head butts. Gamma 2 opened his mouth to fire back when they got a transmission. 1, 2. There's something terrible happening in the countryside, over at Cash Town. Dr. Zeno told them. The creature rejection clan has attacked, and they've killed most of the local heroes. They're slaughtering everyone around them. You have to get there immediately. Yes, sir. Both Gammas said, immediately understanding that this was an emergency situation. They flew into the air and rushed over to the location of the attack as soon as possible. "Act!" shouted a goat-headed woman as she was thrown into a crowd of people. The creature rejection clan gathered everyone who was still alive in the center of the town, surrounding them with all of their members to prevent escape. One member stepped forward, looking at the frightened citizens with contempt. "Filthy mutants, and you traitorous conspirators. Today is the start of the Great Purge. We will take back the Earth for humanity." "Yeah, hi," cheered by the other members. Now, the leader raised his arm, and a ball of fire formed above his hand, growing bigger and bigger and bigger until it was the size of a car. "Die!" He threw it at the citizens, who could do nothing but quiver in fear and beg for anyone to save them. Kaboom! The ball flew towards the crowd and exploded, spreading fire everywhere. "Humph, a fitting end," the leader said as he stared at the flames. But then he noticed something, a shape within the flames. As the flames died down, everyone could see something unexpected. Gamma 2 emitted a force field from his blaster that was protecting the people. "What?" shouted the leader before Gamma 1 flew down and stomped his skull into the street. "Ag!" Gamma 1 jumped back, doing a flip midair before landing in front of the force field. "If you want to hurt these people, you'll have to get past us." "Grrrr. Destroy them," shouted one of the members. "Ha-ah-wah-yeah." The other members let out a battle cry before descending onto Gamma 1. "XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX unconscious attacker, who was rendered unconscious by a fist to the face, knocking him to the ground. Humph, that's the last of them, Gamma 1 said as he stood amidst a sea of unconscious bloody bodies. 2, it's done. Gamma 2 nodded and took down the barrier. All right, folks, it's over now. Is it really over? Asked one of the civilians, all of whom were still fearfully looking around for more villains. We've scanned the entire town. No more villains remain. Gamma 1 said, you're safe for now. Please stay with Gamma 2 while I restrain the culprits and wait for the police to arrive. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX rejection clan. In the end, the attack yielded 56 dead and 180 wounded, including 3 local pros dead. I don't get it, Gamma 2 said. I know that the heroes out on sticks aren't as strong as the ones in the cities, but they shouldn't have been overwhelmed by trash like this. Not to mention the creature rejection clan would never do something this bold. They're too cowardly. Sometimes you make me wonder if you have a sensor with how little you use it. Gamma 1 sighed. Their chaos energy has been tampered with. In the same way as All for One. Gamma 2 eyes widened. What? You mean? Sin. Gamma 1 confirmed. He must have done the same thing he did to All for One, using their negative emotions to boost their power. It's not an issue to us, but to these low-ranking heroes, it was the death of them. I'm guessing that their aggression was also boosted by the process. It would explain why they were willing to do something like this in the first place, and why none of them were willing to even attempt a retreat. So Sin can influence people's actions now. Great. Gamma 2 growled. Damn it. If only I'd finished off the bastard before he got away. Nothing can be done. You can't change the past. We can only move forward. Gamma 1 said. Let's report this to the lab. Hopefully, they can help find Sin before he causes another incident like this. I'm surprised Mr. Midoriya let us go out for a walk like this, Sori said. Kiba had said she wanted to go on a walk in the city today, and Izuku had allowed it with little issue. Of course, he made Sori, Protoman, and Seikyo come with her for protection. Well, I can't say I'm ill-protected, Kiba said. She decided to doll herself up a bit since she was going out for a walk, wearing a gothic Lolita-style dress and carrying a black parasol. She even wore a bit of makeup, courtesy of Shina. Although I'm surprised you also count as a bodyguard, Seikyo. Well, I'm an artificial being, so I don't have to adhere to the same rules you do, Seikyo said. I can use my quirk to defend you if need be. And since I'm immortal, Grandfather didn't see an issue with me doing things that might be dangerous for most people. Yeah, but you don't have to worry about doing a thing. I'm here after all, Sori said with a huge grin. And we got Proto. You two can just relax and enjoy the city. And what about that guy across the street? Seikyo asked as she pointed to a man across the street, glaring daggers at them. Suddenly, the man started shooting out projectile spit from his mouth, heading right toward them. Sakio put up a barrier in front of them, which the spit hit, causing it to explode, but doing no damage to the barrier. In a second, Sori was on top of him and knocked him out before rushing back to join everyone else. How did you know he was going to attack? Kiba asked. Can you see people's emotions like Yami? Sakio shook her head. No, but I can kind of feel them. That man's hostility towards us was so strong it wasn't hard to pick him out of a crowd. I've called the police and he won't be waking up for a while, so let's just move on, Protaman said. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX playground. Oh, I just wanted to try something, Kiba said as sat down and closed her eyes. Hey, stop it. And there it is, Kiba said as she got up off the bench. The sounds of cruelty. They went over to the playground and found the source of the yelling. 5 kids were surrounding another kid, a young girl. She had short hair with steely gray color and what looked like a sword hilt coming out of the back of her head. She wore rather tattered and well-worn clothes, which matched her rather dirty appearance. Just transform already. I want to try it, said one kid. Yeah, you're way cooler as a sword than a person, said another one. Just let us play with you for a while, said another kid. No, I don't want to, said the girl in the middle, covering the sword hilt on her head, tears in her eyes as she tried to find a way out, but all her exits were blocked by the 5 kids. Now what's all this? Kiba asked as she barged into the situation, leaving her bodyguards behind. She wanted to take care of this herself. Who are you? Asked one of the kids. My name is Lady Kiba Midoriya, of the great and powerful Midoriya household. Kiba introduced me, and I would like to ask you to leave that girl alone. Huh? Why the heck should we do that? One of the kids asked, all of them glaring at Kiba. Yeah, we want to play with the sword. Another one said. Yeah, buzz off, vampire girl, added another one. Stomp. Kiba lightly tapped her foot into the ground, causing cracks to form around the area and the ground to shake hard enough to knock all the kids onto their butts. Oh my, it seems I stepped forward a bit too much, Kiba said, smiling even harder. But back to the girl. Again, I have to ask you to leave the girl alone. Otherwise, I will be quite upset. You wouldn't want to make me upset. The 5 bullies immediately got up and ran away, leaving the girl behind. She stared up at Kiba in awe as the vampiric girl approached her. And who might you be? Kiba asked, standing over the girl imposingly. Hinata. The girl said. Hinata. A fine name, Kiba said, offering the girl her hand. I have yet to have breakfast, and I'm rather hungry. Would you like to join me for a meal? Hinata looked at her in disbelief for a second, before eagerly taking her hand. Why yes. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX. Tell me, do you like strawberry syrup or normal syrup? Kiba asked as she looked at a menu. Hinata looked around at the fancy restaurant they were in. Kiba had taken them to a rather high-end restaurant, one that Hinata felt rather out of place at, especially with all the people staring at the girl, obviously judging her for her poor quality and well-worn clothes. Naturally not too pleased by this, Kiba looked up at all the people staring at her guest and snapped her fingers. Given that she made sure to say her name rather loudly and proudly when she came in, everyone knew she was a Midoriya, and thus, all looked away and went back to minding their own business. Wow. Hinata once again looked at Kiba in awe. You need not worry about such insignificant things when you're with me. Kiba chuckled. Now then, strawberry or normal syrup? XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX. Hinata looked down at her meal in awe, with a drool crawling down her lips. A lovely stack of waffles drenched in syrup with a strawberry on top. If you keep staring at it, it's going to be cold, Seikyo said as she ate her own meal. A chocolate chip pancake. Now, I understand her feelings. Kiba giggled, remembering what she was like when she first ate Izuka's food. Let her enjoy the meal. With her eyes, nose, mouth, and soul. You could have said that less dramatically, but I see your point, Seikyo said as she ate some of her food. MPH. Food is one of the greater pleasures in life. I'm glad I can still eat even if I don't need to. Someone's charging an attack outside the store, Protoman said. Seikyo. Got it. Seikyo sighed as she casually raised an arm and put up a barrier in front of the store. Kaboom. A second later, something crashed into the barrier and exploded. doing no damage to the barrier. Immediately, the restaurant broke into surprised and worried gasps, and Hinata also began to look scared. "You don't need to worry about that," Kiba said casually, as Sori rushed out of the building. "There's no true threat in this pathetic attempt at an attack, and it will be over in about 3, 2, 1. "I'm back," Sori said as she came back in. "Threat taken care of. Continue your meal." "I never stopped," Kiba said, as she kept eating. "But you really should eat before it gets cold, Hinata." Hinata once again looked at all of them with awe, before going into her meal and devouring it. No one dared look at them, knowing that nothing good would come from pissing off a Midoriya. "Oh, I love big group fights." Kiba smiled as she and her entourage sat down and watched a movie. "How are you enjoying Hinata?" "It's amazing, Lady Kiba," Hinata said, not taking her eyes off the screen. This was her first movie, and it was every bit as good as she'd heard. The popcorn and drinks helped too. "Thank you for taking me." "Dai Midoriya," shouted a random man as he jumped into the air and started rushing towards Kiba, his foot catching on fire to perform a flaming dive kick, only for Seikyo to catch him with her telekinesis force field and throw him against a wall, before tightening the field around his neck, choking him. Gasps and panicked murmurs broke out in the theater as the man was casually choked. "Everyone is quite down," Kiba said, sounding annoyed. "The show is in front of you, not behind you. I swear people have no manners." Hinata briefly looked at the man as he fell onto the ground unconscious after being choked out, but since Lady Kiba said not to worry about it, she'd do just that. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX Lady Kiba. She'd been treated to meals and entertainment of all kinds. Things she'd never imagined she'd be able to do. Now it was nighttime, and Lady Kiba had decided to take them to a fireworks show. After paying to be in the area, they arrived at an open field, filled with people laying on blankets, waiting for the show to start. "Where are we going to sit, Lady Kiba?" Hinata asked eagerly. "Sit? Oh, you are funny." Kiba chuckled. She then picked Hinata up in a princess carry and grew wings from her back before flying into the night sky. "Huh? Oh, Lady Kiba, is this safe?" Hinata asked as she clung to Kiba. "Ah, of course it is. Do you think I would ever let you come to harm?" Kiba asked with a brilliant smile, which made Hinata blush. Boom. Suddenly the fireworks show started, fireworks flying into the air and exploding into bursts of color. "Wow." Hinata gasped as she got a real close look at the fireworks. Kiba looked at both the fireworks and Hinata's overjoyed smile and felt full. "Yes, they're quite dazzling." XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX to an end, Kiba said, causing all the joy to immediately leave Hinata's face, replaced by a deep, deep sadness. I know it must be painful, but I have a home to return to. Do you have anywhere to drop you off? I live at an orphanage. Hinata answered shyly. It was clear something was on her mind. She wanted to say something, but she wasn't sure if she should. Do they treat you well at this orphanage? Kiba asked. Not really, Hinata answered honestly. They don't feed us very much. I see. We'll have to tell my caretaker about this. He'll get that taken care of. Kiba said reassuringly. Don't worry, little one. He'll make sure the next caretakers of your orphanage never make you go hungry. Lady Kiba, can I become your sword? Hinata said, bowing at Kiba so she could reach the handle on the back of her head. I've always wanted someone really strong and cool who could wield me. So could you, do that. Become my sword. Kiba recalled what those children were talking about earlier. I see. So your quirk turns you into a sword. Yes, Hinata answered. But I've never found anyone I wanted to use me. So I've never really been used to fighting before. I see what you're saying. It's unlikely you'll find anyone as amazing as me ever again, Kiba said with a frown. But my power might be too much for you to handle. The last thing I'd want is for you to snap. I can take it, Hinata said, not knowing if that was true, but desperately wanting to convince Kiba. I'm sure I can be a powerful sword for Lady Kiba. The best sword there is. I promise. Kiba looked at her for a while, thinking about the matter for a bit, before sighing. Very well. I'll give you a test. Kiba then grabbed the hilt, and they were bathed in a sea of light. Kiba closed her eyes and felt something. She wasn't sure exactly what it was, but if she had to describe it, she'd say it was something connecting to her. When the light died down, and everyone could see again, Hinata was gone, and in her place was a beautiful katana with a red blade and black and gold handle. A simple yet elegant design. Oh, Kiba inspected the katana, smiling as she did so. Well, I can't deny your beauty at the very least. Thank you, Lady Kiba, Hinata said, communicating with Kiba via telepathy. Telepathy? Kiba remarked, rather shocked by this unforeseen ability. Interesting. But we can talk about that more matter if you pass the test. Seikyo, I want you to make a small barrier. If I slash through it, make another one, but stronger. This way we can test if Hinata can handle my strength. Simple enough, Seikyo said, doing as she was told and creating a small circular barrier in front of Kiba. Do your worst. Kiba held up the sword. Are you ready, Hinata? Yes, Lady Kiba, Hinata said, sounding both nervous and determined, hoping she could withstand Kiba's strength and pass the test. Slice. Kiba immediately cut through the weak barrier, and Seikyo immediately put up a slightly stronger one. Slice. 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 With each barrier cut down, Kiba's slices came faster and stronger, cutting the barriers down one by one. Clang. After many weaker barriers, Seikyo made a far stronger one that would give a restrained Kiba some trouble. The sword hit the barrier and cracked it, and with a little bit more effort, she sliced through it. With no damage done to Hinata, Kiba stopped her slashes and inspected Hinata. No damage whatsoever. Impressive. Very well, you passed. Yes. Hinata cheered, sounding absolutely jubilant. Thank you, Lady Kiba. Thank you so much. Kiba smiled. Yes, you're welcome. Now, transform back into your human form. Yes, Lady Kiba, Hinata said. The sword glowed, and in a second, Hinata turned back into her human form. But now she looked different. The handle on the back of her head looked like the one she had when she was Kiba's sword now, and her hair was red. Lastly, her skin turned the same pale shade as Kiba's. Interesting. Perhaps me being your wielder made some kind of connection between us. Kiba mused, before shaking her head. No matter, we can think about that later. For now, you must take an oath as my servant. Now kneel. Hinata nodded and kneeled down in front of Kiba. Do you, Hinata, swear to serve I, Lady Kiba, of the Midoriya family, until the end of time itself, with your mind, body, heart, and soul? Kiba asked dramatically. Yes, Hinata said resolutely. I swear, Lady Kiba. Kiba smiled. Then, I welcome you, as my servant and my sword. Hinata, you may stand at my side. Clap, 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 clap. Sori gave the whole thing a round of applause, while Protoman and Seikyo looked unimpressed. All right, we've hammed it up enough. Can we go home now? Seikyo asked. Very well. Come now. Kiba offered Hinata her hand. Let us show you your new home. Hinata eagerly took her hand, and the group started walking back to the Midoriya Foundation. Lady Kiba? Hinata said. Can I ask you a question? Yes. Kiba said. I'm really grateful, but why did you do all of this for me in the first place? Hinata asked. She'd wondered that the entire time, but she was a bit too busy not looking a gift horse in the mouth to actually ask the question. I was just a stranger, but you were so nice to me, and you brought me to all these amazing places. What? Kiba smiled. Simple. Because I wanted to. I was in a position not too different from yours a while ago, and I understand the joy receiving a helping hand from a kind stranger can bring. And being that helping hand brings its own wonderful joy, I guess you can say, I enjoyed making you happy. Oh. Hinata stared at Kiba in awe once more, this time from the sheer kindness she emitted. Tears came down from her eyes as her words touched her. Lady Kiba, I promise I'll make you happy too. I swear. Kiba giggled and patted her head. Please do, my faithful servant. Please do. Sansen, where are we going? Fuku asked as the slime girl led her, Shiruku, and Kano through the forest. Art, Sansen said simply as they led them further in. It didn't take them long to find what Sansen was talking about. It was a small lake, and an extremely radiant one at that. At the bottom of the lake was a floor made of glistening and differently colored crystals, all made to be perfectly smooth by Sansen. like an underwater rainbow road. In the lake itself swam dozens of colorful fish of all different kinds of shapes and sizes. Lastly, there was a giant sword-like crystal sprouting out of the center of the lake. The sun would beat down on it, and it would shoot out different colored beams of light all over the place. "Welcome to Radiant Lake," Sanson said, showing off the lake. "Wow." The three other girls looked at the lake in awe. "It's beautiful," Kano gasped as she flew up over the lake and took a better look. "I've never seen anything like it." The amount of work and dedication that must have gone into this. Not just the crystal and the fist, but the water is pristine. "Did you get this water from clear places?" Sansa nodded, very happy that she noticed that. "How many crystals did you use for this?" Fuku asked, unable to take her eyes off the lake. "How many crystals do you even have? Is there a secret crystal mine around here?" "As an artist, I must admit, nothing I've made has matched this level of beauty," Shiruku admitted, with both pride in her sister and frustration in herself. "You cave as well. The devotion you have to your art is almost as beautiful as the art itself. I can't imagine how much time it took to make this." "Months," Sanson said. "Lots and lots of time." "Indeed," Shiruka said. "While I know the idea might be a bit tasteless, I would like to make a dress based on this. Would you mind if we borrowed some crystals?" Sanson gave the thumbs up. "Wonderful idea, Lady Shiruku. Let us get to work immediately," Kano said as she flew back down, with a big grin on her face. "I feel absolutely inspired. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX Kiba, and Sanson were standing in a forest. It was actually the sim room, with the cameras on them. Who that? New sibling? Yes, sir. Hinata said somewhat nervously, sounding rather nervous. Now that she was a servant of Kiba, she'd been cleaned up and given a new Kiba-like outfit by Shiraku. Allow me to introduce her, my dear minions. This is Hinata. She was not adopted by caretaker, but she's sworn an oath to serve me for eternity. Kiba explained. From now on, she is my sword. And as my sword, I would like to test what she can do. So I'll be testing her against two formidable opponents. Why does Lady Kiba need a sword? Can't she make a sword out of shadows? Seems kinda pointless. Now then, enough wasting time, Kiba said. Hinata, transform. Yes, Lady Kiba, Hinata said, jumping at Kiba while transforming into a sword, allowing Kiba to catch her. Now then, let out 2-on-2 battle begin, Kiba said. Immediately, Sanson's shadow rose up and trapped Sanson in a shadow orb. Huh, look at how easily I can deal with her. Now that my quirk's power is fully awakened. Kiba laughed haughtily, although it was somewhat of a bluff, as while she could keep Sanson contained with shadows, she couldn't do that forever. All her powers were connected to her blood storage, so the more she used them, the more blood she used and the less power she had. And with Sanson drilled against the walls of her shadow orb, she needed to find a way to deal with her fast. Speaking of dealing with things, Fu had finished taking his might extract and transformed into his more powerful form and shot out Kyosei tendrils at her. Kiba sliced the tendrils with Hinata, grew wings, and flew backward. With each tendril she cut, she felt something flow from the sword into her. It felt like she was drinking blood without drinking blood. Hinata? What is this? What's going on? I don't know, Lady Kiba. Maybe this is one of my abilities? Hinata suggested. I'm sorry, I don't know anything more about it. That's fine. That's why we're experimenting, Kiba said as she continued cutting tendrils, noticing that the tendrils were starting to come at them slower. Something wrong, Kyosei said to Fu. I know, Fu said as she stopped his tendril attacks. Every time Kiba cut one of their tendrils, Fu could feel energy being taken from Kyosei, and by extension, him. Kyosei needed to take more energy from him, and thus needed to eat his organs faster, making him use more of his meat storage. Is Hinata taking our energy? Huh, a vampiric blade. How appropriate. Slice. In a flash, Kiba had rushed towards Fu and sliced him in half from the waist up. Fu's upper half started to fall off, but Kyosei held in place. Kiba went to slice him again, but Fu jumped back. Stop, Fu said. My regeneration stopped for a second. If you keep cutting me, I might not be able to regenerate at all. Oh, Kiba stopped her attacks. That would be trouble. Oh shit. Fu without Regan is like the earth without the sun. Never mind, that girl is OP. Of course she is. Why do we think she wouldn't be? Since we don't know how it works, I think it's too dangerous for me to keep fighting you, Fu said with a sigh. We'll need to go to the lab and ask them about this. Yes, that makes sense, Kiba said. I'm sorry, Lady Kiba. Hinata sincerely apologized. No, don't feel bad. You've just proven far more valuable than I first thought, Kiba said. Speaking of which, before we end this, let's test something else. Kiba released Sansan from the shadow bubble, and immediately the liquid girl rushed at her. Slice, 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 slice. In an instant, Kiba cut Sansan a dozen times, stealing energy from her with each swing. Huh, Sansan said, although her speech was sloppier than usual. She stopped her attack and took a second to analyze herself. Her body felt more difficult to control. Keeping herself turning into a puddle actually required a good amount of effort. Is she giving even Sansan trouble? To OP, please nerf. Where did she find this girl? Is Sansan going to be okay? Looks like Hinata's energy-draining powers work even on you, dear sister, Kiba said, looking at her blade. All right then, let's go pay the lab a visit, shall we? XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX. Interesting, Mai said as she looked at the results on her tablet. Well, can you tell us about what's going on? Kiba asked as Hinata, Sansan, and Fu stood behind her. Well, after going through the tests and looking over the research, I can confirm that there is far more to Hinata's quirk than just turning into a strong sword, Mai explained. First of all, when you first decided to wield Hinata, did you feel anything? Yeah, it felt like something was connecting to me, Kiba explained, trying to recall that time. That makes sense. You and Hinata's chaos energy signatures are connected to one another. Similar to how the Cerberus sisters are connected, but not the same. Mai explained. It seems Hinata established a link with you when you bonded, making herself and her chaos energy an extension of you, changing her appearance and even her chaos energy by taking in yours. Not only that, it seems that your chaos energy has also altered her abilities, giving her the extra ability of absorbing the vitality from others when she cuts them and giving it to Kiba to act as a substitute for blood. So Kiba can maintain her own strength while draining others. Is this vitality stealing permanent? Kiba asked. And why did it stop Fu from regenerating and Sansan from moving? Vitality is basically a person's energy, and all living things need energy to do anything. Mai explained. When you slashed at Fu, you stole some of the energy he needed for his regeneration to work. Although due to the nature of Fu's power, it restored itself rather quickly. Although if you continued to attack someone with Hinata, you could stop their regeneration altogether. As for Sansan, her quirk requires energy to make her body move and keep her alive. If you slash her too much, she won't be able to move. And if you slash her even more after that, she could die. Gulp, Sansan said. But you shouldn't have to worry too much about permanently hurting either of them, Mai said. Vitality recovers naturally on its own. So as long as you know when to stop, you should be fine. All right, so that means we can keep sparing. Kiba celebrated. Let's go, everyone. Back into the sim room. Fu sighed. You just had to get another power-up, huh? XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX tea and snacks. PFT. Ochiko giggled. You sound like such a dad. Well, that makes sense considering I'm mostly around my own children. Izuku laughed sheepishly. But seriously, how are things going at UA? I heard you're going to be getting your provisional license soon. Well, we'll be having the test soon, Ochiko said, drinking some tea to calm herself after being reminded of the stressful exam she'd be undertaking. Not sure about passing it. Have more faith in yourself, Izuku assured her, smiling confidently. I can't give any details, but I have a feeling you'll do well on the test. Ochikeo raised an eyebrow. Izuku, did you have a hand in the test? They did ask for a bit of my help, but nothing I can tell you. Izuku said, only if you give it your all and stay true to yourself, you'll pass. Did All Might teach you how to give vague advice? Ochiko asked jokingly before her expression turned serious as she remembered something. Oh right, speaking of All Might, I asked him about the past user's quirks, and he gave me this. Ochiko pulled out a notebook and opened it up to a page filled with quirk names and notes. Black Whip allows the user to manifest a black energy whip from their body. Implode Allows the user to impart their vitality into objects and detonate them at will. Gear shift. Allows the user to alter the speed of anything they touch. Glow. Makes the user's body glow. Fa gene. Allows the user to build up kinetic energy through repetitive movements that can be released in an explosive burst. Danger sense. Allows the user to detect nearby threats to them or people around them. So these are the quirks you have available to you. Izuku looked down at the notes. These are kind of vague. What isn't vague with this quirk? Ochiko sighed. I'm surprised we managed to get this much information. True. So have you tried any of these out yet? Izuku asked as he turned his attention back to Ochiko. Other than Black Whip, no. Ochiko said, extending a very tiny black tendril out of her wrist to show the extent of her control. I'm not even sure how to activate them. Well, how did you activate Black Whip? Izuku asked. I was fighting Gamma too. Ochiko tried to bring herself back to that time. And I was really frustrated about not being able to catch him. Right? Emotions are linked to quirks, so try just feeling it out. Izuku frowned as he realized how little help that advice was. Sorry, that really wasn't of any use, was it? Not really, but thanks for trying. Ochiko laughed. Izuku smiled at her. I'll always try for your sake. Remember, no matter how hard or frustrating things get, I will always be your ally. Always. Ochiko couldn't communicate just how much of a relief that was to hear or how happy she was. And so all she could do was blush. And then her body suddenly lit up like a light bulb, or rather, like a couple thousand light bulbs. What? Now, Ochiko closed her eyes, and Izuku covered his face. Both of them blinded by the powerful light coming off Ochiko's body. Whoosh. Huh. Fire? Is there a fire? Ochiko panicked, still unable to see anything as the heat coming from her light either melted everyone around her or set it on fire, the heat also forcing Izuku to walk back. Ochiko calmed down. Sorry, a little help here. Izuku yelled. Ochiko eventually managed to calm herself and stop the light, but not before setting Izuku's office on fire and getting severe burns. Just another day at the Midoriya Foundation. Today Yami was conducting an experiment to try and understand people psychologically. Thank you for coming, Yami said as he and Eri sat in his room. It's fine. You said you wanted to ask me something? Eri asked. Yami nodded. If you had one wish, what would be? Sorry, what would it be? Only selfish wish. That's a selfish wish. Eri thought about that. What's something she personally would want? That wasn't for someone else's sake. She could wish to be able to control her quirk, but then was that a selfish wish? It's not like she used her quirk for anything other than helping people, so that really didn't count. Maybe an object? What's something that she wanted, that she didn't already have, and she couldn't just buy? Only one thing came to mind. A golden apple, Eri said aloud. Her mouth was watering a bit. I've always wanted to taste one. A perfect golden apple. A golden apple. Yami jotted that down. Okay, thank you. You can go. Huh? Is that it? Eri asked, jolting from her golden apple trance. Yami nodded. Please send K next. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX her turn to answer that question. I guess I'd ask for true love. True love, huh? Yami hadn't been expecting that answer, but he also didn't really know what to expect from Kay. Why? It just sounds nice. Starting my own family. Kay shrugged. I want to do that one day. Such a simple answer. Maybe that's what Yami should have expected. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX pain then? Yami asked as he jotted that down. Worth it, Fu said simply. Oh, and Kyosei wishes for chocolate. Yami nodded. I already wrote that down. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX want them to die? Yami clarified. Not necessary. I just want them all to go away and leave us alone. Kiba grumbled. Forever. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX that happened, you'd have never met Izuku. Yami pointed out. Sanson's eyes went wide as she realized that fact. Oh, I take it back. I wish to taste food. Yami nodded. Makes sense. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX I wish I could forget about my old parents. Kyoka hissed. Yami nodded. He figured that would be the case. This poor girl had such a hard time letting go. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX life so much easier. Kano and Daddy have done a lot to help me, but I want to be able to do that kind of thing myself, you know? Yami nodded. I'm sure you can do it if you keep trying. Like how I learned to talk. Yeah, you really improved a lot. I'm proud of you, little brother. Shiruka smiled as she got up and patted Yami on the head. Which one of us is older again? Yami asked. Who knows? I forget our ages all the time, Shiruka admitted. Let's not pretend we care about that now. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX Yami nodded, and after jotting that down, he got up and gave Fuku a hug. Thanks, Fuku said, hugging him back. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX Yami nodded. That made sense. Right now things were especially hard on people with mutant quirks. After the Meta Liberation Army's attacks on Izuku, the quirk equalist groups became furious and started becoming more proactive and aggressive, prompting quirk discrimination groups to become even more active and aggressive, which prompted the quirk equalists to get more aggressive and so on and so forth. This led to the two groups being openly at war with each other, fighting and even killing each other in the streets. And of course, the quirk discrimination groups didn't just target the activities, but anyone they discriminated against, whether that be people with weak quirks or the quirkless, or people with mutant quirks. And unlike those other two groups, people with mutant quirks couldn't really hide or blend in, so they wore targets on their backs 24/7. Yami could only hope, for their sakes, that things died down sooner rather than later. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX Kai couldn't fit in Yami's room, so Yami had to come to him. Yami nodded and jotted that down. Again, a predictable wish. It was no secret that Kai was left unincluded in many things, simply because he couldn't be included due to his size. Yami went over and petted Kai's head. One day, Dad will find a way to make you smaller. One day, Kai purred. No matter how many activities he was left out of, he always knew his family cared about him. And that meant more to him than anything. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX cloth over him so he couldn't be seen directly. Yami jotted it down. Still stalking people? And with that, the sheet fell to the ground, signifying that Mu fled into his own dimension. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX born with this stupid quirk, but that would mean I'd have never come here. And that makes me wonder if it's worth it. Of course, while I do love this place dearly, I'm hesitant to say it was worth losing my mind and innocence to get here. If you didn't come here, you'd still be with your parents. Yami mused. Probably not. That relationship was doomed to fail, and there is no way either of them would ever want to keep me. Yonda sighed. So I don't know where I would have ended up. Which also adds to my conundrum. So you don't know what your wish would be? Yami asked. I really don't. Part of me wishes that I had offensive power, but to be fair, I don't know what terrible things I might do with that. Yonda acknowledged. Then again, this is supposed to be a selfish wish, so I wish for power. As expected, Yami thought, slightly judgmentally. Oh, don't act like you didn't seek out power yourself. Yonda defended with a pout. Yami nodded. True, but I wouldn't use that power to set people I don't like on fire. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX. I wish I could perfectly control my quirk, Netsu answered. Like, not just not burning everything, but I want to be able to turn it off too. Then I could do way more things. Like eating normal food. Or break dance. Or kiss someone. You want to kiss someone? Yami raised an eyebrow in slight surprise. Not yet. But maybe one day. Netsu shrugged. That's fair, Yami said as he jotted that down. I wish Ghost Freak was replaced with a different transformation, Kin said, looking disgusted at even having to talk about that form. Yami nodded. That's what I thought. Honestly, you don't know how lucky you are. Kin vented out with a pout. Being able to control your quirk so easily. You have no idea how hard we have it. That's true, and not true, Yami said, frowning slightly. For you, it's hard to control, but for me, I can control it. Or I can't. Huh? Can't you control your grim, no matter what? Ken asked, confused by this new information. Yami shook his head. Most grim. I can control it. But some of them are different. The ones with souls. Like Chaos and Seikyo. I cannot control them. And also, the one Dad doesn't tell us about. Huh? Ken repeated, now even more confused. Yami shook his head. Doesn't matter. Dad will tell me. When he's ready. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX Similar but different. Yami noted. What did Ken wish for? Nara asked. He wanted to replace Ghost Freak, Yami answered. Yeah, that sounds about right, Nara said with a frown. Personally, I just think Ghost Freak would be useful, with his ability to go through walls and all. So I think so long as Ken could control him, it'd be fine to keep it around. Although I can't say I'd be happy to see them again. You're a good sister, Nara, Yami praised. Nara gave a slight smirk. Yeah, I will try. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX the other me was. Maybe I'd wish we were two separate people. Yeah, that's what I'd wish for. I wish we were two separate people. So maybe I just wouldn't have to worry about it. Yami couldn't really decide what to think about Nisa's wish. He knew very little about her condition and even less about how to treat it. In the end, all he could do was sympathize with her hardship. Yami set down his notepad and got up before giving Nisa a very gentle head pat. We're here to help you. Nisa's eyes went wide for a moment before a smile broke out on her face. Yeah, I know you guys are. Thanks. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX with a look of pure rage on her face. If those pathetic worms never existed, so much tragedy could have been avoided. I will never forgive them. Never. What about Tenko, Himiko, Shina, and Niz? Yami asked. Shina and Niz were never villains. They were victims forced to act like villains. Niz scoffed. As for Tenko and Himiko, their villainous selves no longer exist. Erased by time. Their past selves never made the decision to hurt anyone, so I won't blame them for anything. Real villains are people who make the choice to hurt others, out of their own selfish desires. Those are the people I will hunt for the rest of my life. Yami jotted this down. Better than he thought, but still not healthy. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX myself. It's just that with my terrible parents, ugly natural appearance, and near complete lack of talent, I'm not exactly in love with myself either. We only have one life, and I think you're doing the best you can with it, Yami said. Thanks, Yami, Sheena said, giving him a small smile. It really does mean a lot to hear that. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX here, but I really wish I didn't have to get kicked out of my country. Fair enough. Yami shrugged. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX seriously. Please take this serious, Yami said. Ugh. Fine. Jin rolled his eyes. I wish the real world was as interesting as my dreams. So far the only reason I have to stay awake is food. Interesting. Yami always wondered why Jin liked to sleep so much, even after he got the restrictor rings. So that's why? Well, there was one thing besides food that you could only really get in the real world. Maybe he should interfere just a little bit here. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX. I just wish we could use those fractal things all the time. Yaba said with a smirk as she imagined that. That'd be freaking sweet. You're not wrong, Yami said as he jotted that down. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX. I wish that our quirk also boosted our minds, not just our bodies, G answered. Maybe then I could get my sisters to understand the beauty of science. And it'd be useful for plenty of other things. Again, not wrong. Yami shrugged. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX. I want to wish that Daddy wasn't such a bad person, but if I wished for that, that would mean me and my sisters wouldn't exist. Inu answered with a saddened expression. So, I guess I wish that Daddy becomes a good person after, That still doesn't feel right. You don't have to wish about him. Yami pointed out. But I don't know what else to wish for, Inu said honestly. I always used to hope that one day Daddy would change, but after I learned about Big Brother, I knew it wasn't going to happen. I guess I wish I knew how to feel about all of this. Would you like a hug? Yami asked, putting down his notepad and opening his arms. Yes, please, Inu said, opening her arms as well, allowing the two to enter a comforting embrace. That helped Inu feel just a bit better. Just a bit. I wish I'd have been born with these powers instead of disease, Lu answered, sounding a bit upset. Would have made my life a lot easier. None of this time travel stuff. But wouldn't you have been hunted down by governments? Yami pointed out. Well, if I'd have been born with it, then I'd be able to use my powers better. And then no one could touch me. Lu said confidently. I mean, I'm already bulletproof and can teleport. What are they going to do? Nuke me? As if. Yami sighed. What was the saying? Oh yeah. Pride comes before the fall. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX answered eagerly. You want to be a hero? Yami asked. Himiko nodded. Mr. Izuku said that it's the only way I can stab people without getting in trouble. That makes sense, Yami said. I guess. And Mr. Giza said that I have a lot of potential. Himiko revealed. He says I have super great reflexes and stuff. Well, that's good, Yami said. So long as you don't go down the road of the old you. I'll support you all the way. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX from the other side of his door. Yami thought deeply about that. When he heard about Tenko's situation, he thought that Tenko would be feeling immense sadness and anger. But whenever he got a glimpse at Tenko's emotions, the rage and sadness were there, but not at all to the degree that he thought they would be. If anything, he just seemed more confused. Apparently, that confusion was about now knowing how to take his family's death, which likely meant that his family situation was more similar to many of the other kids here. Extremely complicated and probably really sad. Can you go now? Tenko asked curtly. I want to be alone. I'll go, but you won't be alone in this place for long. Yami warned him. They won't let you be, so try to be ready. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX No weird voices. No worrying about having to hurt people. No annoying voice. All the metal plates on Oki's body started vibrating like something was trying to escape. Then I could just enjoy a meal for once. Oki groaned. You haven't eaten good food? Even just a little bit? Yami asked. Oki sighed. If I gave you a really good-tasting crumb, would you say that was a good meal? No, you wouldn't. That's what your good meals are to me. A whole cake is pretty much just a crumb to me. Even if it tastes good, I don't feel satisfied at all. Then I just have to stuff my face with a bunch of terrible food to keep me from getting hungry. Yami jotted that down. That'd have to be a problem they'd fix sooner than later. Everyone deserves to have a satisfying meal. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX those mutations can still be beautiful. Kano answered, pouting as she did so. I swear when people see me, all they see is the mosquito part and not the talented, beautiful young woman I really am. I understand that, Yami said. He too wished that his appearance didn't terrify people, but he had accepted that that was likely never going to happen. At least not with strangers. Speaking of which, have you ever considered makeup? I think you'd look amazing if you wore some. Kano said, taking a good look at him. Yami shrugged. Maybe later. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX That's all. Yami asked. That's all. Odo wrote, seemingly entirely apathetic. I don't really care about changing the past. What happened, happened. Better to focus on the future. He was right, but something about him just seemed off. Yami really needed more experience. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX text to speech, seemingly mighty pissed as she typed in more words. That bastard hasn't paid us any attention since we were born, even though we're supposed to be family. Oh, so that's why the guy gave me bad vibes. Yami thought as he jotted that all down, standing up as he's 100% sure that Ko did something to his chair while he was in the bathroom. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX Yami went to his room to ask him the question this time. And so he got a pretty good view of Kuki's room. The room was heavily padded. Not just the walls, but practically everything in here had soundproof padding, which would let Kuki walk around without worrying about destroying anything. You want to get rid of your quirk? Yami asked. You know what that means? Right. Yeah, I know. I don't care. Kuki said, sounding very irritated. I'll be quirkless, just so long as I can walk around without that chair. You've asked Dad to get rid of your quirk? Yami asked. Yeah, I've asked him a dozen times, but he won't let me. Kuki hissed as he kicked his bed, making no noise. He keeps saying the same thing. Trust me, you don't want that. We'll help you out, just be patient. Ridiculous. Yami pondered that. Izuku was very strict about quirk removal. Maybe a little too strict. Then again, was it better to be more strict than lax about this? Yami didn't really know. It started to get frustrating how much this happened. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX you know. I'd make everyone's lives easier, Yami noted. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX How many lives has he brought to ruin? Just like he ruined my team. Can't argue with that, Yami said. I wonder, how much would change if that man didn't exist? XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX I'm rather content at the moment. I suppose if I had to wish for anything, I'd wish to know how to cook. You want to cook? Yami asked. Well, I'd love to be able to make some barbecue anytime I want to, Tokoshi said. Maybe bust it out at the next family meeting. Fighting is badass, I mean. Being able to fight is wonderful, but people who can cook have their own charm to them. Huh. Amai told me the same thing. Yami noted. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX natural to me. I never needed a teacher, nor did I need to put things together. So I fear that might impair my ability to teach. You teach fine, Yami said. And that's not a selfish wish. Oh, but it is. After all, if I got teaching done faster, then I'd have more free time. Giza chuckled. Fair point. Yami said. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX Chol said with a sigh. Then I guess we could go back home. Not that I don't like it here. I'd just prefer to go home. Like mother, like daughter, Yami said as he jotted that down. So Alice made the same wish, Chol said, looking a bit disheartened. How was she? When she talks about her wish. How sad was she? Not too sad, Yami reassured her. She understands, and is doing the best she can. She is happy here. Chol breathed a sigh of relief. I see, thank you, Yami. I wish that my healing was frightening to people, Vera said. It would make my life so much more convenient. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX bunch of things I could wish for, but I'd have no way of knowing the consequences of those wishes. So this is the only thing I could think of. That's fine, Yami assured her. Are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. Maria sighed. I'm still coming to terms with everything, but I'm adjusting slowly but surely. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX supposed to be a selfish wish? Yami pointed out. I don't have any other wish, Sue answered. That is all. Yami found Sue strange. Despite seeming so robotic, she still felt emotions. Just as much as anyone else. More so than Fu even. But everyone else, even Fu, were multifaceted in what they cared about and how they reacted. If they saw something sad or interesting or anything that would normally elicit a reaction, they would react. Sue, on the other hand, only seemed to care about her duty to serve the family and nothing else. She couldn't care less about good food. She didn't have any hobbies, and despite wanting to serve them, she didn't seem to have any particular fondness for them, or for anyone at all. It was vexing, to say the least. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX casually. Yami raised an eyebrow after hearing that. That's it. Not to sound like I'm bragging, but almost none of my wishes would be purely selfish, Izuku admitted. This is really the only thing I could think of that only benefits me. PFT. After getting over the surprise of that answer, Yami started chuckling. It was so like his dad to think of a wish that could only grant selfish desires as nearly useless and use it for something like that. I'm surprised you answered it all. Izuku smiled and patted his son on the head. Honestly, so am I, son. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX was late at night and she hadn't slept last night because of the gaming session. Yes. Are you tired? Yami asked. He felt stupid to not have noticed up until now. He'd been venting about how frustrated he was, not knowing how to deal with all these complex issues, and how he still didn't understand them, that he completely missed how obviously tired his friend was. A little. Amai yawned. I should probably go to bed soon. All right. Just one thing. Yami said. What would you wish to be? I wish you'd cuddle me. Amai yawned before her eyes went wide as she realized what she'd said. Wait. I didn't dash. Give me a second, Yami said. Huh. Amai didn't get another word in before Yami hung up. Huh. Amai could feel her heart dropping into her stomach, and she began sweating bullets. Oh my gosh, I made it weird, didn't I? I made it weird, and he hung up. Stupid Amai, you shouldn't have picked up if you were just going to say stupid nonsense. I want you to cuddle me. That's harassment. Harassment. I dash. While Amai was in the middle of her tirade, suddenly, a black portal opened up in the middle of her room, and Yami came out of it. Huh. Amai said, her mouth hanging open as the portal closed. Don't worry about it, Yami said. Now, Yami went over and picked up Amai into a princess carry. Ah! Amai's face now resembled a tomato as Yami carried her over to the bed, set her down, and then hopped in next to her. Wish granted, Yami said simply, as he put the blanket over the two of them. Good night. Wait. Hang on. You can't just do this to me and then fall asleep. Amai said, so emotionally overwhelmed and tired it came out as barely a whisper. And of course, Yami was too asleep to hear it. Endeavor sighed as he entered his house at the end of a long day of work. Being the #1 hero was hard work. Even if he didn't really feel like the #1 hero with those gammas around. It's likely the only reason they hadn't been made #1 was because the rules when it came to artificial life forms were murky, and they haven't technically been made official heroes yet. As if All Might wasn't enough, now I'm getting outdone by robots. Endeavor sighed as he closed the door behind him. Then again, given the circumstances, that's probably a good thing, much as I hate to say it. In regards to crime, saying things had gotten bad would be an understatement. Ever since Midoriya and the MLA started fighting, it triggered quirk discrimination matters to explode on all sides. Then, of course, there was the weakening or outright destruction of several villainous organizations, and the defeat of All for One, making a massive power vacuum that every self-deluded villain with a decent quirk thought they could fill. Add on to that, Sin was going around secretly empowering other villainous groups, and even some regular people, and spurning them into action, making everything worse. Stain was still out there. His movement seemed to have only gotten louder recently. And if all that wasn't enough, All Might retired. The symbol of peace that practically represented heroes in Japan, if not around the whole world. Meaning that heroes weren't seen as an omnipotent force, which naturally caused crime rates to skyrocket, way up. It was a mess. Not helped by Midoriya freaking out the public by doing insane shit. Of course, this further split the public into two sides. People who thought that he was a saint, and people who thought he was some kind of demon that had come to bring the end of the world. Never did I think I'd miss All Might this much. Endeavor sighed as he walked through the house and into his room, undressing himself before grabbing a towel and heading into the bathroom to take a shower. Shoto and Fuyumi have been rather quiet. Endeavor noted as he turned on the shower. I thought at least Fuyumi would have greeted me, but perhaps even she's finally run out of patience. It really wouldn't surprise him at this point. as Endeavor was thinking about his family situation. Suddenly, he heard something. It was subtle, and he wasn't sure what it was exactly. But it was behind him, right where his heart would be. Whoosh! Immediately, Endeavor's body burst into powerful flames, turning the water into steam and destroying parts of the tub around him. He turned around, and for a fraction of a second, he saw a small black dot before it faded away. And he looked down to see a piece of melted metal. A warp quirk. Endeavor's eyes widened as he realized the danger of the situation. Shoto. Fuyumi. Before Endeavor could get out another word, another black portal opened up, and a dark gray arm stretched out and grabbed Endeavor by the face, seemingly unaffected by the flames, and pulled him in. When Endeavor went through the portal, he was taken to the front of his house. Endeavor grabbed the hand that was pulling him and pulled it off his face, only for the hand to slip through his grip and retreat back to its owner. A large, chubby, bald man with dark gray skin. The portal that he came from shrunk into a small black disc and flew over to a man standing next to the gray villain. This man's skin was pure white, no features whatsoever, not even a face. The only things on him were spots. The black disc joined the other spots on his body, sticking right onto his face. The last villain he could see was a large, burly man with huge vacuum cleaners for arms. That villain pointed his arms at Endeavor, and immediately the vacuum activated and started sucking up Endeavor's fire, pulling it away from the hero. But he had bigger concerns, namely, that almost paralyzing amount of murderous intent that was behind him. Unable to counter with his fire for the moment, Endeavor had no choice but to jump to the side, avoiding a bunch of daggers that had been thrown at his back, which now headed right toward the other three villains. The spotted villain took off one of his spots and threw it in front of them, allowing the daggers to fly into it and vanish. Endeavor turned towards the source of the knives, and his eyes widened. Stain the hero killer, stepped forward. Endeavor, the day of your reckoning is at hand. Time to die. As Stain reached for more daggers, Endeavor considered his options. To say he was at a disadvantage would be an understatement. A teleporter, someone with a very tough yet extendable body that could handle his flames to a certain degree, someone who could suck up his flames and prevent him from doing nearly anything. And Stain, whose abilities were unknown, but presumably formidable. And also there was something else. This feeling in the air was somehow familiar. I don't have any wiggle room. I need to end this fast if I want to survive. Endeavor thought. First things first, that vacuum villain. Hiya! Endeavor shouted as he let fire explode out from his body in massive quantities, unleashing his full power in an instant and shrouding his body in unapproachable flames. The vacuum villain sucked in massive quantities of fire, and soon he started to sweat. His body struggled to neutralize the flames as he sucked them in, his body getting hotter and hotter until, Fwum! Aha! The vacuum villain's arms burst into flames. Flames quickly started spreading onto the rest of his body. Humph! Endeavor quickly turned down the heat to a more manageable level. He could already feel his body heating up from using that level of heat. But he had to get rid of that guy as soon as possible, so he didn't have much of a choice. And then, in the blink of an eye, Stain was in front of him, having charged at him with inhuman speed, and now had a katana aimed right at his heart. Whoosh! Once again Endeavor turned up the heat, as Stain jabbed the katana right into his chest, ignoring the powerful flames that enveloped him, to try and kill Endeavor in one blow, only for his katana to melt against Endeavor's chest. Endeavor grabbed Stalin's arm and turned up the heat a bit more, enveloping them both in powerful flames that burned at Stain, incinerating all his clothes and melting his equipment. Growling, Stain growled at the hero, giving him the meanest death glare Endeavor had ever received, which said a lot. Seemingly ignoring his burning flesh, a dark red aura started emitting from his body. This aura, it's similar to the feeling I got from All for One. Endeavor realized. Send that bastard. He must have powered him up. That would explain how he's enduring my flames this well. Slam. Stain decked Endeavor right in the face, sending him flying and crashing through the wall of his house, hitting the floor of his living room on his back. The hero killer charged in after Endeavor and raised his fist to deliver another powerful punch down at Endeavor's head, but Endeavor moved his head to the side just in time, making Stain punch through the floorboard. Endeavor aimed his palm at Stein's face, to try and shoot him in the face with fire, only for Stain to narrowly dodge it. Endeavor was ready to shoot another blast of fire at Stain when a black portal appeared between them. The spotted villain came out of Stain's side. "The Gammas are here. We need to go." "Damn it," Stain swore. But he wasted no time, jumping into the portal, which quickly vanished from sight. Endeavor glared at the place where the portal had been. Part of him wanted to give chase, but that was a colossally stupid idea, given that he had no idea where the portal would have taken him. And to say he had the advantage in that fight in the first place would be an exaggeration. "Hey, Endeavor." Gamma 1 and 2 flew in through the hole and took a look around. "What happened here?" Gamma 1 asked. "Stain," Endeavor answered. "He and some other villains got the jump on me, thanks to one of them having a warp quirk." "That's weird. According to our database, Stain's a lone wolf," Gamma 2 pointed out. "There's been cases of him even crippling people who try to partner with him. It's not just that. Sin's enhanced his power," Endeavor revealed, "and possibly even the power of his minions too." "Damn it," Gamma 2 swore, stomping his foot in frustration. "How the hell is he moving around without us noticing?" "Sin has the ability to conceal his energy, and he can hide his body inside that Dragon Ball of his, which is about the size of a baseball," Gamma 1 said. "Finding him won't be easy." "Where are Shoto and Fuyumi?" Endeavor asked them. "In the basement," Gamma 1 answered, knowing their locations after scanning the house. "They're unconscious, but mostly unharmed." "Good." Endeavor let out a small sigh of relief before getting back to business. "Actually, how exactly did you know I was being attacked?" "The government is tracking the use of all warp quirks throughout the city," Gamma 1 explained. "If there is any use of a warp quirk, we'll know, so we can track them then?" Endeavor asked. "According to HQ, they seem to have warped outside of the city," Gamma 1 explained. "Where they're hiding now, it's outside the range of our devices." "Damn," Endeavor swore. Then he was silent for a few moments, as he thought about something. "All right, if that's the case, then I have no choice. I'm moving out." "Moving out?" Gamma 2 questioned. "What are you just gonna run away from?" "I'm staying in the city, but not here," Endeavor said. "I can't risk continued attacks putting my children in danger. From now on, Fuyumi and Shoto will live here on their own." "That's probably for the best," Gamma 1 said. "We'll ask Mr. Midoriya if we can get some added security here, just in case." "Thank you," Endeavor said. "We're doing it for them, not you," Gamma 2 said. "We still don't like you." "That's fine," Endeavor said as he walked away to go put on his clothes. "It doesn't matter." XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX was attacked in his own home by staying the hero killer and his associates. Until now, the hero killer had never worked with other villains, nor did he dare attack Endeavor. However, it appears that something's changed, and now the hero killer appears to be officially taking on followers. While Endeavor was unharmed, the hero killer and his minions escaped, and their current location is unknown. How disappointing, Sin said. The monster was currently watching the news, in his lair, deep underground, sitting on a throne made of stone. Around him were various people, working hard to transform the area around him into a castle and moving things around. And here I was hoping to hear of Endeavor's death. Oh well, Sin cackled. Even with that power I gave him, I knew he wouldn't have enough power to beat Endeavor quite yet. I should be surprised that he even tried this early on, but given his nature, even with the slight changes I made, I suppose this was predictable. I'm just glad he hasn't gotten himself caught yet. I still have to get everything I can out of you, Stain. Hey. Ah ha ha. Breaking news. A massive island has risen out of the Pacific Ocean and into the sky, shouted a newswoman. The Midoriya Foundation has been working in this area for months now, but no one could have expected that this is what they were planning. To explain this baffling development, we have Myru Jikin, said the newsman. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX we are to have you here. It's an honor to hear that, I said with the usual fake smile for the public that everyone puts on. Now, let's not waste much time. We have a lot to explain after all, namely, Angel Island. Angel Island, so that's its name. But why does the Midoriya Foundation need a flying island? The interviewer asked. Well, I'm sure you and everyone else know. that scientific research can be dangerous, I said. Mr. Midoriya and I have rejected several research projects, which, while they could have some great benefits, could also lead to massive disaster. Giant explosions, monsters, and other terrible, terrible things. However, Mr. Midoriya is a firm believer that you can't stop scientific progress. Right now we have a monopoly on chaos science, but that won't be the case forever. Eventually, someone will disregard the risks and pursue this forbidden research, putting themselves and everyone else around them at risk. In order to prevent this, we've made Angel Island a place where the most dangerous research can be pursued, away from everyone else. So this, Angel Island, is a place made to protect the public from mad scientists? The interviewer asked. That's correct, I confirmed. The island is being made in cooperation with I-Island. They have a pretty vested interest in getting rid of their mad scientist as well. The island itself is mostly just land, but the ocean and sky surrounding it are going to be filled with the most advanced security on the planet, and there are strict rules. Anything that tries to leave the island without authorization gets destroyed. No exceptions. Warping will be blocked as well. The only way off the island without getting blown to Kingdom Come is to leave via jet, after going through a lengthy inspection process. I see. But what about if someone somehow enters the island without permission? The interviewer asked. Like say someone accidentally flies there, or a plane gets off course. We're a bit more lax about things entering the island than we are about them leaving, Mai explained. In those cases, the security on the island will be issued to deal with intruders and send them away, assuming they survive anyway. We're not really worried too much about thieves sneaking onto the island. Sure, if someone managed to get something out of there, it could be dangerous, but that would require a thief to sneak onto a flying island, deal with both the advanced inland security and whatever other unspeakable monsters there might be there, steal something, and get off the island without being destroyed by the most advanced defense force known to man. And with warp quirks not being able to be used on Angel Island, all of that is nearly impossible. All right, but there's one thing I've been wondering about that you haven't mentioned. The interviewer said, do you have a way of protecting these scientists from their own experiments? Absolutely not. If we could do that, we'd already be doing those experiments, Mai said with a stern and serious look on her face. Let me be completely clear. If you volunteer to go to Angel Island, you are doing so with the full knowledge that you are probably going to die. You will be killed by either your own research or the research of your peers. We will have top-of-the-line security there to try and protect the scientist, but even then we fully expect most of the people going there to die. And you're still sending people there regardless? The interviewer asked, looking absolutely stunned. Yes, and as cruel as that might sound, we have little other choice. Mai continued. It's not in our hands. It never was. We can't stop people from doing these experiments at some point. We can only put them in a controlled and secluded environment to minimize the damage done. Let me give you an example. Say there is an experiment that causes a massive explosion. Which would you rather happen? A lone scientist doing that experiment in secret in a city, killing hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions of people, none of whom had any choice in the matter or knowledge that that would happen? Or would you rather that scientist do that experiment on Angel Island, killing at most a couple thousand scientists? All of them knew the risk of being there and chose to work there anyway. You have to choose, otherwise option 1 happens. So it's a matter of sacrificing the few to save the many. The interviewer surmised. Not really. Can you say that we're sacrificing them when they do this to themselves? Mai pointed out. Also, let me be clear. The only people working on Angel Island will be people who know the risk and choose to work there anyway. And even then, any employee on Angel Island will always have the option to leave, provided that their leaving doesn't provide any security risks. Like if they get infected by some weird virus or something. Have you already taken these volunteers? The interviewer asked. Yes, we have a couple thousand volunteers. Mai sighed. I find it insane, but the fact that we were able to find that many people willing to completely disregard safety in such little time kind of proves Mr. Midoriya's point. It'd only take one of these guys to do something stupid, and an untold amount of people could die. Well, I suppose at the very least, it's good that the Midoriya Foundation is taking the danger presented by this seriously. The interviewer said, although I would like to talk a bit more about this new kind of science. You called it chaos science? What is it exactly? We've only heard rumors, and seen complete products, but we don't know anything about it. Well, I'm sure you've heard the rumors that chaos science harnesses the power of quirks, I said. This is true, to an extent. You see, we discovered the secret of quirks. All quirks. And not just quirks. This energy is the base of all things. Chaos energy. A powerful energy with infinite potential. All energy, matter, and quirks contain chaos energy. If that's the case, then how haven't we been able to find this before now? The interviewer asked. That's because, while chaos energy is in everything, the chaos energy we have access to isn't pure, I explained. You see, there are two kinds of chaos energy: pure chaos energy and impure chaos energy. Basically, you can think of pure chaos energy as a blank piece of paper. You can do anything with a blank piece of paper, but as soon as you do something with that paper, it becomes something else, and you can't really do anything else with it. That's impure chaos energy. There is pretty much no source of pure chaos energy that we can find naturally, and even if there was, pure chaos energy turns into impure chaos energy almost instantly when exposed to pretty much anything. We've been surrounded by chaos energy all our lives, but since we weren't able to find the source, we were able to identify what we were looking at. I see, the interviewer said. In truth, she understood none of that, but just wanted to move on anyway. So you were able to find a source of this pure chaos energy then? Yes, due to the unlimited abilities of impure chaos energy and quirks, it's entirely possible that there would be a quirk that creates pure chaos energy. I continued, and that's exactly what happened. I discovered someone capable of emitting pure chaos energy back when I was working for the DOC. I attempted to pursue studying them. However, I was told that it wasn't relevant to our tasks and that I needed to discontinue my research. Fortunately, Mr. Midoriya happened upon some of my research papers and took an interest in it, deciding to create the scientific research branch of the Midoriya Foundation and giving me the funding and ability to continue my research. But that just adds more questions. Why did Izuku Midoriya need a research branch? Why did he want to study chaos energy? What's his goal here? The interviewer asked. Well, Mr. Midoriya had a few reasons for wanting to support my research, I said. Part of it is because he thought it was an opportunity for profit, but he also had a genuine interest in our research. Mr. Midoriya loves quirks and discovering their capabilities, so he was curious to see what our research would produce. But the last and most important reason is he wanted to use our research to help protect his kids. So he didn't want to find a way to say, give himself a quirk. The interviewer asked. I sighed. Oh boy, that rumor. It's true we are studying ways to get rid of quirklessness. But first of all, Mr. Midoriya didn't know we'd be capable of that back when he first started funding our research. And secondly, this is more for the sake of quirkless people everywhere, not just Mr. Midoriya. But you are trying to get rid of quirklessness? The interviewer asked. Yes, that is one of our goals, I confirmed. Can't discriminate against the quirkless if quirklessness doesn't exist. But do you really think that this is the right solution? The interviewer asked. Instead of trying to confront discrimination, you're just making the vitamins conform to be like everyone else. Is a similar strategy going to be applied to people with weaker quirks or people with mutant quirks? And what about the people who don't want to change? The quirkless are going extinct. I pointed out, regardless of what we do or whatever happens, quirklessness will cease to exist at some point. We're just speeding it along. And while we are also researching ways to enhance weaker quirks, none of this will be forced on people. Also, we aren't trying to make any changes to people with mutant quirks. We're not doing this to conform to anyone. We're doing this purely because of practical reasons. Well, I can only hope that people appreciate your efforts. The interviewer said. It seems we've run out of time. Any last message you want to give to the people? Yes. I looked at the camera. I beg everyone who wants to perform dangerous experiments with little thought about the consequences. Come to Angel Island. We'll give you everyone you need, just so long as you understand the risks. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX speculation. Today I'll be talking about my niece Ari and her quirk rewind. Up until now, it's been thought that Ari's quirk reverses time on an organic thing and returns it to how it used to be. But that may not be true. Reversing time is something that is either extremely difficult or completely impossible, and there are certain things about Aries' quirk that makes me think she can't do it either. First of all, Aries' quirk doesn't work on non-organic objects. Why? Time affects everything, organic or not. So why can't she affect it? Second, it has to be living. She can't bring back the dead. Again, why? If she can control time, why such a random limitation? And lastly, and most damning, when she tried to restore All Might, she couldn't restore his quirk to full power because it was too powerful. If she can manipulate time, this makes no sense. Regardless of how strong All Might's power is, it should be irrelevant in the face of time manipulation. It's this incident that caused me to believe in this hypothesis. Aries can't manipulate time. Instead, her quirk just deconstructs and reconstructs something based on a kind of genetic blueprint. Something inorganic things would lack. It would also explain why she couldn't restore All Might's power. When someone's rebuilding something, they have to have the materials to do so, and Aries just didn't have enough raw power to replenish All Might's quirk. It's like trying to fix a rundown building, but realizing you don't have enough glass or something. As for why she can't affect the dead, when something dies the body decays, perhaps causing the genetic blueprint to be damaged, so Aries' quirk can't do anything with it. It also might have something to do with chaos energy, or rather the soul. So far, a soul can be considered as a clump of chaos energy, that carries our consciousness, our whole being. These souls can be seen directly in the collective unconsciousness. When something dies, its soul loses its connection to the physical realm and stays in the collective unconscious. It's likely Aries doesn't have enough power to completely replace a soul or bring it back from the collective unconsciousness. Hence another reason she can't affect the dead. If Aries had a Chaos Emerald, then perhaps she could restore All Might or even bring back the dead. Unfortunately, Chaos Emeralds make Aries' quirk simply too uncontrollable. Even with China's help, Aries can't control her quirk when enhanced by the emerald. A shame. Sheena set down her guitar and whipped some sweat from her brow, noticing that her fingers were bruised up again. How long have I been practicing? She looked up at the clock in her room, and her eyes widened. 7 hours. Grrrr. Sheena looked down at her rumbling tummy. I sure hope Fuku's in the kitchen. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX there, serving bowls of ramen to Shiruku, herself, and Sanson. The fact that Sanson was about to eat food was not the only weird thing. Sanson herself wasn't in her normal colors. Her outer slime was white, and her inner slime was purple. It was an odd look, to say the least. "Oh, Sheena," Fuku said after taking notice of her. "Are you hungry? I made a lot of ramen, so please just wait a second, and I'll get you some." "Okay. Thanks," Sheena said, as she went to sit down, right next to Sanson. The scientist finally found a way for Sanson to taste food, Shiruku explained, seeing how confused Sheena was. "They made this new chemical for her that makes her outside parts white and not melt things, and the purple insides can melt and taste things." "How does that work?" Sheena asked, very confused as to how slime could taste things. Shiruku shrugged. Fuku finally came back, with another bowl of ramen. "Here you go, Sheena." "Thank you." Sheena eagerly took the bowl, and all four of them sat down to eat. Immediately, Sanson took the bowl and dumped the contents into her mouth all at once. Everyone watched as the ramen melted inside of her, and then she immediately turned into a puddle. "EAP!" Fuku shouted out in a panic. "Did I just kill Sanson? Did I do something wrong? I didn't put poison in there, did I? Could poison hurt Sanson? Was it the garlic? Did I kill Sanson with too much garlic?" Sanson's head reformed from the puddle with a big dopey grin. "Susu. Good. Food is a mashing. Calm down, Fuku. It was a happy melt, not a bad melt," Shiruku assured her, as she started eating her food. Seriously, Fuku. How could food so good ever kill someone? How do you do this?" Sheena asked, on the verge of tears while eating her own food. "Whenever I try to make food, it always ends up being awful. It's not fair. It's not fair, damn it." "I'm sorry," Fuku said to try and console the girl. "You can apologize by giving me half of your talent." Sheena pouted. "Or even just 10% of your talent. Cooking, sewing, writing, drawing, archery. Just give me one. Come now, Sheena. You have your own talents. Shiruku encouraged her. Your singing voice is something to behold. I honestly can't wait until you've mastered it, and I can fully appreciate it. But that's it. That's my only thing. Sheena sighed. I've got one thing. I'm a one-note character. I'm gonna be that person that shows up to every party with a guitar, even though it was only cool the first 2 times. I mean, you can fight. Fuku pointed out. That's something. That's not a talent. It's not even really something I can do. Sheena moped. That's just my quirk. What's the difference between quirks and talent? Sanson asked. Everyone took a second to really process that question. They knew that there was a difference, but when they really thought about it, the two were more similar than they first thought. Both were things that one was born with, sometimes dictated by genetics, that usually benefited a person, but would also usually require a lot of hard work to hone. Does that make my quirk a talent? Sheena pondered. But it still feels like cheating when I use it. I mean, I can just slash and do pretty much anything. Well, I guess the difference between quirks and talents is that quirks are just way stronger, Shiruka said. At least some of them are. Still, I think that saying using quirks to help you do things is a bit unfair. I mean, I use my quirk for my passion. Yeah, but you're different. You still go through hours of practice. I just have to cut myself once, and I'm good. Sheena sighed. So it's kind of like how Ken makes video games. Shiruka pointed out. Well, I don't think Ken cares too much about the art of making video games, or what's cheating or not, Sheena explained. Then again, I don't know that for sure. He doesn't. Trust me. Fuku sighed. He just wants to make cool things, and use them to make money. Yeah, he's a pretty simple person, Shiruka said. Oh, and Fuku dear, how is your planet exploring ideas coming along? Slowly, but pretty well. Fuku said. I'm using the sim room and the lab to help find new ideas and learn more about certain places. Also, I've learned I never want to go to a desert, ever. How do people live in places like that? I can't wait to play that one day. Sanson said. A game like that sounds super cool. Oh well, I was kinda hoping maybe you'd help me with making some landmarks, Fuku asked shyly. I mean, your landmark art pieces are so amazing. If I could get that in this game, I think people would really get attached to it. Sure, Sanson said, giving her a big thumbs up. You two make me a bit jealous. Working on such massive projects. Shiruka sighed. It makes my own work seem small. But clothes are way more important than video games. Fuku said. It hurt her pride as an otaku to say that, but she had to admit the truth. Whenever you see someone, the first thing you look at is probably their clothes. Nice clothes can help you during a date, or getting a job. And everyone loves hero costumes. Yeah, you're right. Shiruku said, perking up. I can't believe I forgot how important my work is for a minute. I'm ashamed of myself. Thank you for reminding me of that, Fuku. I believe you deserve a head pat for that. Mercy. Have mercy. I'm eating. Fuku cried out. Fine, but the moment you're done, I'm giving you head pats, Shiruku said with a smile. Don't try and run. You won't get far. I know. Fuku sighed, accepting her fate. Giza hummed, as he strolled through the forest with his arms behind his back. Crash. Giza jumped back, just as Kiba crashed into the ground where he'd just been standing, creating a small crater as she landed. Chaos arrows, Lu shouted as he jumped out of a tree. As dozens of chaos arrows shot out from Lee's hands towards Giza, he easily dodged every last one of them, before jumping and vanishing behind a tree. Kiba formed a rough-looking hand out of shadows and grabbed the tree, quickly uprooting it, only to reveal that Giza had vanished. Stupid ninja crap, Lu swore under his breath. Ahem. The two of them turned around and saw Giza standing on top of a tree, looking down at them. Lu teleported too and tried to punch him in the face, only for Giza to tilt his head and dodge, before spitting in his eyes. Oh fuck. Lu hissed in pain and disgust as he fell backward. Giza was about to jump down off the tree, but he just managed to stop himself as a shadow spear rushed and nearly stabbed him. At the same time, Kiba flew up to him and was in Giza's face before he knew it, ready to land a heavy blow. Before Giza spits in her eyes, blinding her and causing her punch to stall, allowing Giza to duck under it and fall out of the tree, vanishing between them. Curses, Kiba cried. Fine then, you leave me no choice. Kiba raised her hand and started gathering up shadows and bringing them up into the sky. Those shadows formed into an orb in the sky that grew larger and larger and larger. until it grew into a massive black ball that almost seemed to radiate shadows, like the sun radiates light. All things have shadows, for where there is light, there is dark. Kiba chanted, "Unseen sun, shine your shadow upon the world." So commands your master. Black sun's flare. Brrrr. The black sun roared as black beams of shadows shot out of it and started curving around, smashing into everything around them. Giza was forced to dodge the beams as they smashed into every tree around him, destroying all the cover around him, as well as the whole forest. Whoa! Lu was forced to teleport away to avoid getting hit. Every tree was swept away, boulders were shattered, and the ground shook from the might of her attack. And only when the entire forest around them was decimated and laid bare did Kiba's attack start to fade out. The beams vanished, and the black sun she'd made quickly began to shrink into nothing. Ugh! Kiba groaned as she clutched her head and stomach as she fell to the ground, onto her knees. Using such a powerful attack had massively cut into her blood banks, making her much, much weaker. And then, the moment she started to try and get into her feet, Giza kicked her in the face, forcing her onto her back. Chaos missile. Lu had teleported back in and shot a tree-sized energy bolt at Giza before teleporting over to them, grabbing Kiba and teleporting them away. Giza jumped to the side as the missile sailed by him, only for the missile to burst open into hundreds of tiny sharp energy fragments. Giza had no way to dodge this and could only use his arms to cover his face and chest as his body was cut and punctured by chaos energy. By the end of the attack, Giza's clothes were torn and he was covered in cuts that were bleeding all over. Huh, we hit him. We actually hit him. Lu cheered, ignoring how his restrictor rings burned his wrist. That last attack used so much energy it made his head spin, but had been worth it to finally land a hit on him. Impressive, Giza said, to acknowledge your lack of skill and compensate with overwhelming power and teamwork. Well done. Heck yeah. Lu and Kiba high-fived, with huge grins on their faces. Sure, they didn't technically beat him, but getting this far was pretty sweet in their opinion, because it meant they were getting stronger. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX Izuku a tablet. Izuku looked at the tablet and saw a news article. The #1 hero of France is coming here. What's so concerning about that? Please read the rest of the article, Chol told him. Okay, she wants to help the poor citizens of Japan in this trying time. And she's specifically here to find her cousin, Manami Iba. Oh, Izuku scowled. Yeah, that's not good for us. What should we do, sir? Chol asked. Call them. I'll have them stay with the Sky Pirates until she leaves. Izuku sighed. Hopefully, they can avoid having an encounter with them. And if they do? Chol asked. Then we pray they're equipped to deal with the situation, Izuku said, rubbing his temples. Otherwise things are going to get more complicated for us. Congratulations, Achiko. Izuku and All Might clapped as the two of them, as well as Achiko herself, sat in Izuku's office to talk and celebrate Achiko getting her provisional license. Thanks, guys. Achiko gave them both a tired smile. In truth, she was utterly exhausted from the test. Also Izuku. What the hell was with the exploding plant monsters? Oh, the Cybermen? Yeah, my scientist grew those during their experiments. Izuku explained. Since the HPSC asked for some monsters, we thought those would do the trick. So you just have those things lying around in your plant lab? Achiko asked, both confused and unnerved at the prospect of that lab just having plant monsters hidden inside it. Yeah, but soon enough we'll be moving them all to Angel Island, Izuku explained. Hopefully next year we can get some more monsters from there to use for the test. Just try not to go too crazy. Achiko laughed nervously, feeling a bit of sympathy for the poor future class that would take this test. It seems like you're all going to be given some vacation time. All Might said. What do you intend to do now, young Uraraka? Well, me and my parents were actually planning to go back to our hometown for a little bit, Achiko revealed. Momo, Mina, and Sue are going to come with me for some reason. I don't understand what they'd find so interesting about a little old town like that, but they seem pretty excited about it. That sounds fun. To be fair, I doubt any of them have seen the countryside, so that makes sense. Izuku explained. But I hope you enjoy yourself. Do you want me to let you use portals to get there quickly? If you could, that'd be great. Ochiko accepted happily. Long car rides kill Papa's back, so that's really helpful, Izuku. I still find it rather strange how quickly you were able to make use of Kurogiri's power. All Might said, the idea of duplicating quirks is still bizarre to me. The advancement of technology is infinitely vast and unpredictable, at least to people like us. Izuku shrugged. At this point, nothing they make surprises me anymore. But speaking of fractals, I do have some bad news. Ochiko, from now on, you're not allowed to use fractals. Huh. Ochiko gave him a befuddled and slightly concerned look. Why? Well, I was looking into giving you a fractal of your own, when the lab discovered something using the new information we have on you. Izuku sighed. One for All is growing unstable. The amount of power and quirks it's gained over the years has led to its stability membrane becoming thinner and thinner, which is why you were experiencing such a hard time trying to control it, and why you have access to the other quirks when the previous users didn't. Okay, so why can't I use fractals? Ochiko asked. The fractals temporarily add more power and an additional quirk factor to your body, Izuku said. Imagine adding more air to an overfull balloon. One wrong move, and you explode. Ochiko's eyes went wide. Oh. Also, I would suggest against passing on One for All to anyone, Izuku warned. Otherwise, the next user will experience backlash even worse than yours was. And by that I mean they'll explode. I see. So One for All has finally reached its limit. All Might said, looking a bit saddened. So it seems. But we are looking for ways to get around these limitations. Izuku said, we're studying the matter closely, and I'll tell you if anything comes from it. Thanks. I'm glad you told us all this before I accidentally killed someone. Ochiko shuddered as she imagined her poor would-be apprentice, suddenly exploding after she gave them the quirk. Ugh. Of course. Remember, the Midoriya Foundation is always your ally. Izuku told them with a smile. Speaking of the Midoriya Foundation and successors, as morbid as it is, I can't help but wonder who will take over the Midoriya Foundation in the event that you are unable to run it or retire. Well, if something were to happen to me now, then Mom would take over the foundation, Izuku explained. Currently, we're working on merging her company with the Midoriya Foundation. But in the future, I plan to have one of the kids take over. Most likely Kyoku. Ochiko and All Might froze, before giving Izuku a look that questioned if he was being serious. Okay, I know you don't have the best impression of her, but she's really improved since you last saw her. She's been learning about the workings of the foundation, and she's mellowed out a lot too. Izuku assured them. And the only other one of the kids who seem interested in taking over is Yonda, so my options are limited. Ochiko cringed at the idea of Yonda taking over the foundation. Yeah, maybe Kyoku is the best option. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX Ochiko sat in the back seats of Mr. Uraraka's car. I've never been on long car rides, Momo admitted. I'm curious what it's like. Sorry, but that's not how things are going to go, Ochiko said apologetically. Huh. The girls gave her a confused look. Suddenly, a black portal opened in front of the car. All the girls except Ochiko suddenly sprung up in surprise. One of Kurogiri portals. Momo shouted out as she and the others got ready to undo their seatbelts and get out of the car. Wait, guys, it's not Kurogiri, Ochiko told them, causing them to stop for a moment and give Ochiko a range of confused looks that urged her to explain. It's Izuku. Remember how Izuku can kinda do these weird things with crystals? This is one of those. So he can replicate Kurogiri's quirk? Momo asked. Crazy, huh? Mr. Midoriya said. That boy sure won't ever rest. It feels like the common sense of the world is crumbling day by day, Tsu commented. Are you sure it's safe to drive through this? Mrs. Uraraka asked. Yeah, Izuku would never let us use this if it wasn't safe, Ochiko assured them. And it's either this or a 7-hour car ride. All right, let's go, Mr. Uraraka said with urgency. The car started, and they moved forward into the portal. After driving through the brief darkness, they came out on the other side, in a small town. And we're here, Mr. Uraraka said as the portal closed behind them. Humph. No road trip. Mina pouted. I am a little disappointed, but looking past that, the scenery of a small town really is far different from a city, Momo said. looking out the window as they kept driving. It's all so much smaller. And cleaner, Sue added. Yup. What it lacks in grandeur, we make up for in tightness. Mr. Urarka said proudly. Tighter community, tighter sense of values, tighter feeling home. They eventually made their way to their old house. A one-story, small house that looked kind of run down. All right, we're here, Mr. Urarka said as he parked the car in front of the house. As everyone was getting out of the car, suddenly, an old man went up to them. Omo, IKA, is that you? The old man shouted with a big smile on his face. Furway, you're still alive. Mr. Urarka shouted with an equally great smile on his face as the two men embraced briefly. I knew you were too stubborn to let old age take you just yet. Ha ha ha, I still have a good few more years left. Furway chuckled. So what brings you back? After you left, I thought I'd never see you folks again. We just wanted to get away from the city for a while we celebrated our little Achiko passing the licensure exam. Mrs. Urarka explained. Oh, so little Achiko is finally a full-fledged hero now, Furway said, looking at Achiko with a proud look. I never thought I'd live to see the day. I'm not a hero yet. I just have a provisional license, Achiko said, looking a bit embarrassed. Still got a couple more years before that happens. Well, I'll try to hang on until then, Furway said with a smile. Well, much as I would love to talk a bit more, I'm sure you're all tired, so I'll let you go. Oh, but one more thing. The water's not going to work. The whole town's water system's been shut down. What? What the hell they do that for? Mr. Urarka asked in confusion. How the hell is anyone supposed to get any water? We're stuck with the bottled stuff, I'm afraid, Furway explained sadly. Something happened to the lake. One day, a lot of people just started getting ill, and we found out it was caused the lake had been poisoned. Poisoned? Achiko questioned, looking absolutely shocked. How did the lake get poisoned? No one knows. Just suddenly happened one day, and it started getting worse and worse. Furway explained. Now the water's basically just pure poison. We've tried going to investigate it, but even the air around the lake's toxic. No one's died just yet, but we've had some close calls. If it weren't for that newfangled medicine from the Midoriya Foundation, at least 10 of us would have kicked the bucket already. Have you called the heroes to help solve the problem? Momo asked. Little lady, we ain't got no heroes round here, Furway told her. We have to call heroes from the nearest city over. And let's just say, we ain't high on their priority list. It's going to take a while for them to come around here. So until then, we just gotta sit tight and hope the poison doesn't come our way. You mean it's spreading out from the lake? Mina asked. Yup. We don't know how far I'll go, but if it comes to town, we'll have no choice but to leave. Furway explained, looking absolutely crestfallen. We won't let that happen, Achiko said resolutely, causing everyone to look at her. Achiko looked at the girls. Sorry if I may be asking for a bit much, but could you guys please help us out? I can't let my hometown get destroyed. Plus, I really love that lake. I used to go down there all the time to play and look at the stars. If it's been poisoned, then I need to find a way to clean it up. Yeah, Mina cheered. You've got my support, Urarka. Much as I hate to break it to you, but we've still only got our provisional licenses. Sue pointed out. We still can't use our quirks unless there is a pro hero around. Yeah, but it's not like anyone's gonna know, Achiko pointed out. And we don't even know if we'll have to fight anyone. That is true, Momo said, pondering the notion. And if we don't help them, the problem could cause everyone here to lose their homes to the poison. I'm not one for breaking the rules, but it would be rather heartless of us to do nothing in this situation, Sue. Yet Sue, don't be such a stickler, Mina said with a frown. Don't pressure the girl. Not everyone's so altruistic, Furway told them. Some folks are just like that. Mr. Urarka sighed. Ugh. Why are you making me look like the bad guy for wanting to obey the law? Sue sighed. Fine, I'll help. But if for whatever reason, we have to do something fighting, we need to leave immediately. I agree. Investigation is one thing. But if there is an actual villain involved, then I believe the best course of action would be to ask Midoriya to send help. Momo said. That's fair, Achiko said, sounding very reassured that her friends agreed to help. Thanks, guys. I really appreciate it. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX. Since the whole lake was a completely toxic area, they'd need special suits to even go there. But after hours of trial and error, measurements, and many Google searches, Momo had been able to make special hazmat suits for each of them. that would protect them from the toxic environment. And boy, were they glad for that. As soon as they made it to the poison land, they could immediately see a difference. The trees were dead, wilting, and decaying, almost melting as they fell apart. All other plant life had vanished, the only trace of them being small, shriveled-up flecks on the ground. The air was filled with a purple toxic mist, so thick and heavy that they couldn't see the night sky above them. Even the ground seemed to have been killed by the poison. The grass had vanished, leaving only dirt, and even the dirt was dry and looked utterly devoid of nutrients. And what made all of that worse was dead animals, whose bodies were littered all over the ground. Oh my God! Momo looked at the area in absolute horror. This can't be natural. I agree. There is very clearly a powerful villain, maybe even multiple villains behind this, Sue said as they continued towards the lake. Which is why we should really turn around. Sue, we love you. We really do. Please shut up about turning back. Mina told her. We need to at least figure out what the problem is, Ochiko said, leading the charge. After that, we can turn back and call for help. Seeing this distorted, horrific parody of the place she had traveled through over and over again since she was a child only hardened her resolve. She would fix this, not just for herself, but for the town. A few minutes later, they finally made it to the lake. The water had turned purple and was even bubbling in places. It looked as disgusting as it did dangerous. All right, we're here. So, what are we looking for? Mina asked. Anything that could help us understand why this happened? Ochiko said. Let's dash. Ochiko, Sue interrupted her. Something's coming out of the water. Everyone looked at the lake and saw something rising. It was hard to see at first because of the thick mist, but as it rose more and more, they eventually could see it plain as day. There before them was a massive dragon, the size of a large building. It was covered in dark green scales and had a big, pudgy body and short stubby tail. Its nest was long like a snake, and its face was almost frog-like, with a huge mouth and big yellow slitted eyes. And lodged in its forehead was a ball with 2 stars in it. Who dares step into my domain? Roared the dragon. Holy crap, a dragon! Mina shouted. Looks like we found the source of the issue. Time to leave. Sue told them. Who are you? Why are you polluting the lake? Ochiko asked the dragon. Can't you tell you're hurting people? Hurting people? Why should I care? Roared the dragon, glaring down at Ochiko. This lake is mine. If you humans wish to mess with it, then it's your own fault you're getting hurt. He's speaking like he's not human. Is he not just someone with a dragon quirk? Momo asked herself. Sue grabbed Ochiko and started dragging her away. Let's go. See ya. Mina shouted as all 4 of them started running. Splat. As they were running, the dragon shot out a blast of thick, toxic sludge from its mouth, landing in front of them, forcing them to come to a stop. Who said I would let you escape? The dragon sneered. All those who intrude upon my home must die. The dragon shot out more sludge, and the girls jumped aside to dodge it. We can't head back to the town. If this thing chases us back there, it'll put everyone in danger, Ochiko said, which is why we shouldn't have come here in the first place. Sue wanted to shout, but at this point that'd be more frustrating to hear than helpful. Then what exactly should we do? We hold it off, Momo shouted, creating a shield that popped out of her suit to block some of the sludge. Wait, Yamomo, who can you use your quirk with that suit on? Mina shouted in surprise. Midoriya introduced me to a new material, and I incorporated it into my suit. Momo explained. Azui and Uraraka should also be able to use their quirk to a limited extent, but Ishido is powerless, which is why she should be the one to head back and call for help. Right, Ochiko said as she activated full cowling. It was time to take her lake back. Uraraka, Azui, I need you both to distract the monster while I work on something, Momo said as she used a shield to block some of the toxic sludge that was shot at her by the dragon. Just don't damage your suits. If even the slightest hole opens up, you could die. Uraraka, try not to use too much of our power. Why can't things ever be easy? Uraraka bemoaned. She charged forward, running over the surface of the water, before flicking an air bullet at the monster's face, not doing any real damage, but annoying the beast enough to get its attention. Rah! The dragon roared, as he let out a stream of poison from its mouth down at Ochiko, which she dodged by continuing to run across the surface of the lake. Meanwhile, Sue had jumped onto the monster and started climbing around, looking for a weakness. It's really hard to keep my grip while in this suit, Azui thought as she grabbed tightly onto the scales of the beast. Ochako jumped onto the edge of the lake, grabbed one of the dead trees, and picked it up before running back on the water. The dragon shot more of its sludge from its mouth at her, but Ochako was able to dodge each shot and stream of sludge and get closer to the dragon. It opened its mouth to shoot more sludge, but Ochako jumped up and threw the tree into its mouth. Gah! The dragon choked a bit as the tree entered his mouth, but before it could spit it out, Ochako jumped up and punched the tree into the dragon's throat. Ack! The dragon continued to choke on the tree, which was now lodged in its throat. It wildly thrashed its head about, trying to do anything to get the tree out of its throat, but all that did was crush and break apart the tree, and the broken pieces got lodged into the sides of his throat. Unfortunately, all that thrashing made it really hard for Tsu to keep her grip, and she was thrown off the dragon and fell into the water. Thankfully, the suit protected her from the extremely poisoned water, but she was far too close to the thrashing dragon for comfort. In fact, she was close enough to spot something. Its underside, which was hidden underwater, had no protective scales. Its underside has no scales, Tsu said via her in-suit communicator as she swam away from the dragon. Thank you. Uraraka, can you expose its belly? Momo asked over comms. I can try, but it won't be easy, Ochako said. Ochako ran away from the thrashing dragon and stopped on the edge of the lake. All right, time for a trial by fire. Uraraka aimed her hand at the dragon's neck. Black energy whips shot out of specially made openings in her suit and wrapped themselves around the dragon's neck. Ag! Uraraka struggled against the power of the dragon, and as such, increased the power of her full cowling. She pulled the dragon towards her, lifting the dragon out of the water a bit and exposing its belly. Momo, whatever you're going to do it now. All right. Thank you, Uraraka. Momo said, aiming the rail gun she'd been making right at the dragon's belly. Crack-a-cum. The railgun fired out its long, sharp rail right at the dragon. The shot so powerful the sound resonated throughout the entire forest. The rail went right through its belly, all the way through its thick body, and the tip poked out of its scales before stopping completely. Kaboom! The rail exploded, the explosion so powerful that it plowed through its insides, and fire poured out of its mouth, nose, and eyes, destroying its eyeballs and teeth. Once the explosion died down, smoke billowed out of those holes, and the dragon went completely limp. Then it started to fade away. Its body quickly turned into black smoke and vanished into the wind, leaving only the dragon ball behind, which fell into the lake with a plop. Its body turned into smoke. It looks a lot like one of Yami's Grim. Ochako noticed, before focusing on the dragon ball, floating in the center of the lake. And what's that ball? Ochako ran forward over the water, grabbing the ball as she went by, and rejoined Momo and Tsu. Well, it appears to be dead. But what on earth was that? Momo asked. Did someone make it with their quirk? That's most likely what happened, but why? Tsu asked. What does anyone get out of poisoning a lake in a small town? Hayu. The superheroes are here to save the day. The three looked up and saw the Gammas fly down towards them, before landing next to them. Let me at him. Where's the dragon? Gamma 2 shouted, looking around for the threat. It looks like they already beat them. Gamma 1 said, staring at Uraraka intensely. And look what she has in her hand. Gamma 2 did so, and his eyes widened when he saw the Dragon Ball. Oh crap. It's as we feared, Gamma 1 said, as he reached out for the ball, which Uraraka gave over to him. A shadow dragon. Shadow dragon? Tsu repeated. You know what that creature was? Momo asked. Was it a Grim? Ochako asked, looking both confused and determined at the same time, as if she was waiting for an explanation she wouldn't like. A Grim? You mean those things that Midoriya makes using one of his son's quirks? Momo asked, looking even more confused. Come to think of it, it did fade away just like one of Yami's Grim, Tsu noted. But why on earth would Midoriya make a dragon to poison a lake in your hometown? That doesn't seem like Midoriya at all. You're right, Director Midoriya would never do something like this. Gamma 1 explained. This was the work of an altered Grim. An altered Grim? Ochako repeated. Grim that has been altered by method, usually involving fractals. Gamma 1 continued. The vast majority of these Grim are fully sentient, and as such Yami can't control them. And among these creatures are a batch of creations called the Shadow Dragons. You see, while Director Midoriya and head researcher may always try to prioritize safety in the lab, there's a reason why they decided a place like Angel Island needed to exist, and why they've been prioritizing it so much. Gamma 2 explained. It's because of the Shadow Dragons. 7 fractals were filled with negative energy and left to fester. Gamma 1 continued. Eventually, they started to gain sentience, and the fractals turned into balls with stars inside of them. They absorbed negative energy, much like Yami does, and eventually, they accumulated enough energy to escape and take physical form. They're all very powerful, and 2 out of the 4 that we've found are confirmed hostile. How many of them have you captured? Uraraka asked nervously, trying to process all this information. Technically, just this one. Gamma 2 said. But we have 2 of them under heavy surveillance. And the last one? Sue asked. Gamma 2 sighed. Sin's current location is unknown. So let me get this straight, Momo said, sounding both concerned and somewhat terrified. There are 4 extremely powerful dragons just roaming the country, all of which could be hostile, and you have no idea where they are. That would be correct, unfortunately. Gamma 1 sighed, before looking down at the ball. We're currently trying to find a way to track them, but it's not going well. Negative chaos energy itself is composed of lots of different chaos energy signatures. So right now our detectors can't tell the difference between a shadow dragon and a large group of people. Gamma 2 explained. And tuning it to try and scan negative chaos energy is a no-go, since it technically exists everywhere, just not in a physical form. So we have to find a way to detect manifested negative chaos energy. I see. Ochiko frowned. Suddenly, a portal opened behind them, and Izuku came out, wearing a suit similar to theirs. I am so sorry. Izuku immediately got on his knees and apologized. I'm so sorry that this all happened. Ochiko frowned. Izuku, I don't blame you for this. The whole thing was a terrible accident, and it seems like you're doing everything you can to make it right. Honestly, I don't know enough about the situation to pin blame, but since I know you, I'm going to assume this was more of a who-could-have-known accident, Sue said. I agree with Azui. Please raise your Midoriya, Momo told him. For now, let's just focus on fixing the issue. We already killed the dragon, so how can we fix the lake? Oh, the dragon's not dead. Gamma 2 chimed in, causing the girls to quickly look at him in shock. Its body is just a construct. The real dragon, or I guess just its soul, is inside the ball. After it absorbs enough negative energy, it should be able to reform its body. But that won't be for a while. So are you going to destroy the ball? Momo asked. Izuku got up and shook his head. I considered it. However, if we can study it more, we might be able to find the other dragons. So I've decided to send this over to Angel Island. There it will be confined and studied, unable to hurt anyone outside the island. Now, as for the lake, in its current state, the damage is too severe to fix by normal means. Our only real option is to use the reset bomb and then scrub the area. That'll restore it to how it was, or at the very least get rid of the poison and allow us to work to get it back to how it was. That's good. Ochiko gave a sigh of relief. She'd been worried that her beloved lake had been lost forever. So how long will that take? About a week, Izuku said. I'll put it on the high priority list. Consider it part of my apology. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX quietly to herself. The world is so beautiful, Carria said as she looked around at the lush green fields and the vibrant blue sky. Don't you think so, family? Hundreds of screams replied from inside her. I think it's lovely, Carria, said the seven-star ball in her head. I'm sure all the new friends we're going to make will love it too. Thanks, Bally, Carria said with a smile as she skipped down the path, until she noticed something. Up ahead was another kid, looking around her age. They had short brown hair with two bangs framing her face. They wore a pair of red shoes, brown shorts, a big blue winter jacket, and a red scarf, with a blue and white striped shirt underneath. And their eyes were also closed, yet she also somehow seemed to be looking right at her. Carria also couldn't tell what their gender was. Howdy, the kid said with a friendly smile. Hi, Carria greeted equally as friendly. You must be Carria, right? The kid asked. Carria gasped. I am. How did you know? Dr. Garamond has been watching you for a little while now, said a voice from behind her. Kyria turned around and saw someone nearly identical to the child in front of them. However, there were a few differences. While the child in front had tanned skin, the child behind them had pale skin, except for the perma blush on their cheeks. They also wore the same shorts, but this kid's shirt was green and had light green stripes, along with a golden heart-shaped locket hanging around their neck. Their eyes were also wide open, revealing their blood-red color. Allow us to introduce ourselves. My name is Furusuku. The one in front was introduced. And their name is Kyrakuda, but we just call her Kiara. We were sent by Dr. Garamond to bring you to him. Sorry, but I have somewhere to go, Kyria said with an apologetic bow. You see, I have some new friends I need to make to join my family. So I'm super busy. Yeah, busy eating people, we get it, Kiara said while rolling their eyes. But you see, the thing about that is, Kiara opened her hand, and suddenly a red energy knife formed inside it. And they gave her a very menacing smile. We weren't asking. They slashed the air in front of them, making a giant red energy slash that flew right at Kyria. Kyria's eyes widened, and she jumped to the side to avoid the attack, which was now heading right for Furusu. But right before it could reach her, the attack vanished. Hey, that was rude, Kyria pouted. Kiara raised her knife. If you don't want to come, then shut up and fight. With that, she sent a few more energy slashes at her. Kyria pouted harder and batted away the energy with her hands. You're a real jerk, you know? Fine. If you want to get in my way, then you'll just have to join my family too. Whoosh. With explosive speed, Kyria lunged at Kyria and tried to bite her, only for Kiara to kick her in the side of the face and send her flying to the right, skidding across the dirt and grass. Ow, 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 ow. Kyria pulled her head out of the dirt and rubbed her swelling cheek as tears started spilling from her eyes. That really hurts. Kyria, are you okay? Here, let me make it better, said the 7-star ball in a panic. Suddenly the swelling healed, and all the pain vanished. Thanks, Bally, Kyria said with a tearful smile. Slam. Kiara slammed her foot down on the back of Kyria's head, mashing it into the ground so hard it made a crater. Slam. 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 Kiara continued to mash Kyria's face into the ground with her foot, making the crater bigger and deeper each time, until she finally stopped. I think she's unconscious now, Furusuku said as she walked over to them. Kiara stepped off of Kyria and picked her up by the hair. Her face was bruised and the Dragon Ball was cracked, and she was most definitely unconscious. That's all it took? Wasn't she supposed to be strong? She's just a little girl. She's not really a fighter, Furusuku explained. She probably doesn't even know how to use her quirks. I was hoping for more of a fight. Kiara sighed before she started dragging the girl away. All right, let's just bring her to the doctor. Furusuku smirked. As you wish. Snap. And with the snap of her finger, they were gone. Today was another day of class in the Midoriya Foundation. Given just how many children there were, it's not like he could put them all in one classroom all at once. So he decided to have individual class times. Basically, he would split everyone up into groups of 12. And once he was done teaching one class, he would move on to the next. Thankfully, since Izuku cut out most of the fluff that schools added, classes didn't go on too long. So he could get through everyone without taking all day. It was bright and early, and Izuku was standing in front of what he referred to as Class 1. Class 1 included Eri, Kei, Fu, Kiba, Sansen, Kyoku, Shiruku, Yami, Fuku, Otoko, Kai, over video call, and Mu, who was wearing a sheet. And all of them were waiting for Izuku to start the lesson. All right, everyone. I'm happy to introduce you all to your new teacher, Izuku said. Huh, was Fuku's response, although everyone else did look rather surprised. The door opened, and in came what could only be disturbed a giant yellow octopus man. He wasn't quite an octopus. His head was a round yellow ball, with 2 small black dots that seemed to be his eyes and a big Cheshire cat-like smile. Most of his body was covered in an academic dress. A large black cloak with a bit of red down the center and some blue lines along the sleeve. The only other 2 pieces of clothing he wore were a black tie with a crescent moon on the bottom and a small graduation cap. Coming out of the bottom of the robe were thick yellow tentacles, and from the arm sleeves were 4 thinner tentacles, 2 coming from each side. "Hello, children," the octopus man said in a cheery voice. "My name is Kyoshi, and I'll be your new teacher as of today." Kay raised her hand. "Yes, Miss Kay," Kyoshi called. "What is your question? Are you a man with an octopus quirk? Or an octopus with a man's quirk?" Kay asked. "Neither. I am a full-fledged human, my dear. And my quirk has nothing to do with octopus," Kyoshi said. Whoosh! Suddenly the man vanished, and then appeared behind Kay with a gust of wind. "This is my quirk," Kyoshi said. "I don't know why it makes me look like this." "So you can teleport?" Kai asked eagerly. "No, that wasn't teleporting," Kiba corrected. "That was super speed. He was moving so fast that none of you could see it. All except me, of course." In truth, she had barely been able to track his movement as well, appearing as a blur in her vision, meaning even with her immense speed, this guy was still significantly faster. "That's correct, Lady Kiba," Kyoshi said, dashing in front of her desk. His face turned green and a white O appeared on it. "Very good." Kyoshi then dashed back to the desk at the front of the room, next to Izuku. "Now then, shall we get the lesson started, Mr. Midoriya?" "Of course." Izuku moved from the front and walked all the way to the back of the room. "I'll be watching this first lesson for today, but all of you please focus on Mr. Shirji. Now please begin." "Alrighty then." Kyoshi coughed to clear his throat before continuing. "Today we'll start learning about World War III, or the Quirk Wars. Now can anyone tell me when the Quirk Wars started?" 2061. Eri answered, although she sounded a bit unsure. "That's correct," Kyoshi confirmed, pulling out a remote and calling down a projector. "Quirks first appeared in 2040, and for 21 years tension grew all around the world. After quirks started appearing, the world was in a state of chaos. Most governments weren't exactly jazzed about citizens having superpowers that they could use as weapons, and so many governments quickly enacted anti-quirk policies. This ranged from simply banning the use of quirks, to round up every odd person in the country and imprisoning them, to killing them on sight. Each of Kyoshi's sentences was accompanied by pictures put up on the wall behind him, of people with quirks being either rounded up or attacked by police. The children reacted with a combination of disgust and horror, but none of them seemed all too surprised. "As I'm sure you've guessed, many people were not pleased about this," Kyoshi explained, showing a new slide of people protesting. Of course, the people with quirks were against this, as well as the relatives of people with quirks. But there were a fair amount of sympathizers who had no personal relation to people with quirks. Although that said, they were all the minority at first, as many of the quirkless people were very much against those with quirks, and quirk discrimination ran wild. As he spoke, images of protests and protesters being attacked by police or other citizens went up. Surprisingly enough, however, as time went on, pro-quirk movements became more and more popular. Kyoshi explained, mainly for 2 reasons. The first being that more and more people started having children who had quirks. And second, in a rather surprising display, as time went on, people started to realize that their initial reactions were a bit unreasonable, to say the least. Quirk supporters did their best to take pictures of the horrible things happening to people with quirks, namely, human experimentation. Many countries started experimenting with people with quirks, mostly to try and figure out the source of their powers and how to use them for their own purposes. Although sometimes it was more torture than experimentation. Pro-quirk forces risked their lives to get pictures of these horrible things, sneaking into quirk concentration camps and quirk experimentation labs. And thanks to this, the public became a bit more sympathetic. However, that just about evened the 2 sides numerically, with plenty of people carrying anti-quirk sentiments. Kiba raised her hand. "Why didn't the people with quirks just fight back?" "Because they were children," Kyoshi explained. "Remember, quirks only appeared in newly born babies at first. So when the governments of the world started gathering them, there was little they could do. They were relying on their parents to try and hide them away. They had to stay hidden. Of course, for people with mutant quirks, this was impossible, but for others, they simply needed to never use their quirks in public. This continued on for 21 years. Hate for either side is growing more and more. And the children born with quirks eventually grew up. And eventually, they'd had enough. And they did start fighting back. Thus we enter the Quirk Wars." The slide changed again, now showing people with quirks fighting back against soldiers and police. Now it's unknown how, when, or what properly started the quirk wars, Kyoshi explained. It's believed that one person with a quirk started fighting back against the government, but we have no way of knowing where or when, or even if that was the case. But regardless, people started fighting back against governments worldwide. And while people had tried fighting back before, this time they were actually winning. Those with quirks were the first. They gathered together and started using their powers to slaughter their enemies, taking their weapons and giving them to their sympathizers. And once the quirk war started, it didn't take long for it to end. You see, the quirk war wasn't your typical war. It wasn't fought on some kind of battlefield, or even in certain areas. The fights were happening everywhere, including very populated areas, meaning they couldn't use their big weapons without harming the public. That didn't stop certain countries, but that only made things worse for them, as those acts horrified the public, who started supporting the pro-quirk armies more and more. Another advantage the pro-quirk armies had was speed and surprise. Quirks weren't like many of the weapons the government used, that had to be transported and set up. Quirks could be used in an instant, meaning they had a great offensive advantage, and they intended to use it to its fullest, not giving the governments of the world any time to get out their more powerful weapons, or even make proper strategies. They also specifically targeted people in charge of the anti-quirk forces, something that was easy to do, because those people were public figures and government officials. This caused massive issues, as it essentially left most of the anti-quirk forces without any leadership, causing them to fall apart even faster. Thus, the anti-quirk war only lasted about half a year at most. In some parts of the world, it ended sooner. Half a year. Fuku gasped in shock. That's right, it was a pretty short war, mainly because it was more of a slaughter than a war. Kyoshi explained. All around the world, the war ended one way or another. Some governments simply undid any anti-quirk laws and thus ended the war there. Some governments had all of their people killed and replaced, and some were just completely dismantled and turned into something else. And while the quirk war lacked in longevity, it made up for that in its astonishing death count. Roughly 41% of the population died due to this war. Almost everyone's eyes widened in shock. That's almost half the people in the world, Kiba whispered, almost speechless from what she just heard. It was in fact a horrible and dark time in human history, and it holds the record for the highest death count of any war in history. Kyoshi explained. And the reason for such a high death count was due to something called the equality purges. You see, the people of the pro-quirk army were typically those who hated any form of discrimination, racism, sexism, homophobia, and things like that. And now that these people were armed, and they weren't obeying the laws anymore, they decided it was the perfect time to remove such people from the world. And so they used their weapons and their quirks to slaughter anyone who had a discriminatory view, or anyone who they believed had a discriminatory view. And so the pro-quirk forces would slaughter over 1 billion civilians. Ugh! Kyoku groaned in disgust. People. And thus, we conclude our lessons on the quirk wars, Kyoshi said. Of course, there are many things we skipped over, and if you want to learn more about it, then feel free to do your own research. And if you have any questions, feel free to come and ask me. Now, since today's subject was pretty heavy, we'll be ending class early to give you all some time to process that, and then unwind. Class dismissed. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX Kyoshi had just finished up his last class for the day, and now he was sitting in Izuku's office for evaluation. You did well. Of course, I'd like to observe you a bit more, but my attention is needed somewhere else. Izuku sighed. So I'll have the maids watching your lessons and reporting back to me. I hope you don't mind. Oh, I'm more than fine with it, sir, Kyoshi said, saluting with one of his tentacles. After all, it's not common that people would hire someone with my history. True, but I need talented people who are willing to be loyal to me and my family. Izuku said, I've seen your ability to both teach and your ability to fight. And since you accepted the mind probe, I'm confident I can trust you. Even if you were a former lieutenant for all for one. I believe people can change. I am forever grateful for that, Mr. Midoriya, Kyoshi said, bowing his head. One more thing. Izuku pulled out a file from his desk. This is a little help. I've written down everyone's learning habits, what they're best at, and what they could use help with, as well as their general learning habits. Some will be easier to work with than others. I understand, sir, Kyoshi said, grabbing the file with his tentacle. I'll make sure they all understand what I'm trying to teach them. It's a promise. TCH. Lou scowled at a book he was reading like it had personally offended him. Lou was currently sitting down in the library, with a book in front of him that seemed to be making him very displeased. The Quirk War, give me a break. Lou huffed. This must be quite the hard pill to swallow. Lou jumped in his seat and quickly turned his head to the side to see Kyoshi standing there. Don't do that. Geez, just because you can sneak up on people doesn't mean you should. You don't see me teleporting behind people just to surprise them. Sorry. I just noticed you were reading more about the Quirk Wars, and I thought maybe I could be of help. Kyoshi offered. I know quite a bit about that war after all. Do you think I could stop it? Lou asked, not looking Kyoshi in the eye. If I went back in time, do you think I could stop it? Not a chance, Kyoshi answered in that same peppy tone. Unless you stopped quirks from happening in the first place, this kind of thing was always destined to happen. It's all just a progression of human nature and the exploding of tension that had been rising for years, long before quirks came around. People back then predicted that World War III would plunge the world into a nuclear apocalypse, and perhaps that would have happened if the nature of the war was different. So even if you could stop quirks from appearing, you might create an even worse future. Lou didn't respond at first. His body tensed up even more, his hands balled into a tight fist, and his teeth started grinding against each other. So I guess coming to the future was a good thing, huh? If I'd been around. He'd been told that going back was a bad idea. But being told that was one thing. Reading about what they did to people with quirks back then, the experiments, the camps, the torture, that was another. Dark times, Kyoshi said. Fortunately, you didn't have to go through that. I freaking hate humans. Lou huffed as he slammed the book shut. Humanity can be really frustrating, Kyoshi said. I know that most of all, but there are some parts of it that can really make you smile. That really makes life worth living. Try not to let the bad in the world overwhelm you. Otherwise, you'll find yourself completely numb. And that's no way to live. Trust me. Kyoshi grabbed the book. Now I think that's enough studying. All work and no play leave you a dull boy. I heard Ms. Maria is taking a break, so why don't you give her a big hug? I'm not 5. Lou grumbled as he got up from his seat. But you know what? I do think I've done enough studying. Squoop. And like that, Lou teleported away. Very good, little one. Don't waste your life, Kyoshi said as he quickly put the book back where it belonged. That's probably the most important lesson I can teach here. Contrary to what people would think, or even what Kiba herself would say, she didn't love blood. She didn't even really like it. Because every time she looked at blood, she knew someone had to hurt in order to get it. Whether in a very minor way, or in a very, very dire way. Daddy, Kiba whispered. Kiba stood in the flaming wreck that was once Izuku's office. Everything was either broken or on fire, and the window, as well as the wall it was on, had been broken apart, revealing the ruined fiery wasteland that had once been the beautiful forest she'd played in so often. And at her feet was Izuku's body. Blood leaked from under him as his lifeless eyes stared up at her. Finally, he's dead. Black shadows surrounded them, with blood-red smiles on their non-existent faces. Quirkless scum. Waste of air. All quirkless should die dash. Slice. Suddenly Kiba's body changed. Claws appeared from her fingers, which she quickly used to cut through the shadows surrounding her. Slice. 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 Ah. Ah. Stop. Ah. The sounds of screams and the tearing of flesh accompanied Kiba's rampage. She sliced, tore, punched, and bit the shadows like wild animals, splatting their blood across the destroyed room, until no shadows remained. Once Kiba had finished, she found herself standing in a lake of blood. Izuku's body half submerged, his dead eyes still staring at her. This was not enough blood. Nowhere near enough. She'd find them. Everyone who would dare take her daddy away from her. She would have their blood. Ra, Lady Kiba. Ah! Kiba opened her eyes as she quickly sat up in her bed. Her body was covered in sweat, and she was breathing heavily. Lady Kiba, are you all right? Hinata asked, standing at Kiba's bedside, looking extremely worried. It looked like you were having a nightmare. I am fine. Kiba put on a forced smile. Thank you for waking me. Lady Kiba, we share a bond. Hinata pouted. You can't lie to me. Ugh. Kiba sighed, and all the energy she had to fake awkness drained from her, as her expression melted into a miserable look. Hinata, please get me my slippers. I think I need to clear my head. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX enjoyed the gifts he'd given her. The gift of flight, in particular, was something she cherished, even if she wasn't fond of its origins. Kiba floated in the night sky, looking up at the stars. But neither the beauty of the stars nor the cold night air could take her attention away from the dream she'd just had. "Fancy seeing you here, Lady Kiba." Kiba looked down and saw Kyoshi standing on the roof of the house, looking up at her with 2 mugs in his tentacles. "You seem rather distressed. Why don't you come down here and we can talk about it if you like?" Kyoshi offered. "I have hot cocoa." Kiba sighed and flew down to the roof before sitting down. "All right, Sensei." Kyoshi sat down next to her and handed her a cup of hot chocolate. "Now then, what's keeping you up?" I had a bad dream," Kiba said, blushing slightly, embarrassed by how childish that sounded. "Daddy died and I killed a lot of people." "I see," Kyoshi said, as he thought about the best way to break all this down. "Well, you shouldn't have to worry about Mr. Midoriya dying. Your daddy's strong, in almost every sense of the word. He won't let bastards take him down. I still don't understand why they even want to hurt Daddy." Kiba shouted in frustration. "I don't understand quirkism. Not one bit." "Well, do you want me to explain it to you?" Kyoshi asked. "The 5 pillars of discrimination. If you can." Kiba nodded, drinking some of her hot cocoa and getting ready to pay close attention. "The first is fear." Kyoshi started. "People fear things that are different. The moment they see something they're unfamiliar with, their first instinct is to control or destroy it. Or else they fear it will destroy them. The second is superiority. You love feeling like you're special, yes? Well, other people love feeling like that too, to the point where they convince themselves that they were born special and are part of a special group of people that are better than everyone else. So they treat everyone that's not like them poorly because it makes them feel better about themselves. The third is exploitation. This one is simple. If people think that a group of people deserve to be treated badly, they can profit from it, making them slaves, selling books peddling bad messages, and things like that. And the fourth one is tradition. Some discriminatory beliefs have been around for so long that the people who believe them have it ingrained in their minds that they're right. It's like a plant gets its roots deeper and deeper into the ground, becoming harder and harder to pull out. And the last one is stupidity. Some people are simply told that people should be treated poorly for whatever reason, and they believe it. Simple as that. "So which ones are the QLA?" Kiba asked. "Probably a combination of superiority, tradition, and... Oh right, there is one more pillar of discrimination I forgot about," Kyoshi said as he sipped his hot chocolate. "Revenge. You see, sometimes bad things happen to people, and those bad things are done by other people. So the victims of those crimes grow a hatred for those people and anyone like them. I believe back then, one of the main reasons was the QLA was created in the first place because of the discrimination they faced from quirkless people. So because they got discriminated against, now they discriminate." Kiba thought about that for a few seconds, her expression growing increasingly sour. "That's stupid. All the people who hurt them died. And didn't some quirkless people help them during that war?" "Yeah, but rage can overcome logic," Kyoshi said. "Some people deal with pain by inflicting pain onto others." Kiba flinched. "And I see that transitions onto our next topic rather well," Kyoshi said. "Tell me, did you feel good when you killed those people in your dream?" Kiba started to tremble a bit, but then Kyoshi put one of his tentacles on her head. "Don't worry, I'm not going to judge you," Kyoshi assured her. "I don't have the right to. I'm only trying to guide you and help you through your confusion. So why don't you ask the question you've been wanting to ask?" "Sensei, is it right?" Kiba hesitated for a second before taking a breath and forcing her question out. "Is it right to want to kill them? I hate them. I hate them so much. I just want them to go away." Kyoshi waited for a second to respond, letting Kiba recompose herself a bit before answering. "To your question, no. It's a crime to want to kill someone. You go through life long enough, and eventually, you'll find at least one person you'll want dead. Even someone as kind as your father has people he'd love to murder. Like that Garaki guy. If he hadn't taken his own life, I'm sure Mr. Midoriya would have. And I'm sure he would have loved to do much, much worse. To hate is to be human. I've never met a single person without hate in their heart. Okay, except for that K-girl, but she's abnormal. But aside from her, everyone has hate in their heart. And eventually, that hate escalates into wanting someone gone. But wanting to do something and actually doing it are very different. Taking a life, even if it's the life of someone bad, should only be done if absolutely necessary. After all, death means they can't repent. They can't change and reform. And you'd never know what kind of things a person could do if they turn to the light. To hate it to be human, but the thing that puts us above savage animals is to control that hate. Without that, we become nothing but mindless beasts, slaves to our you understand. Yeah, I think I get it. Kiba said, with an expression that showed she was still thinking about this very deeply. Thank you, Sensei. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX kitchen. Izuku had ended up working late last night, which led to him sleeping during the day and waking up a couple hours ago, meaning he wasn't going to fall asleep again anytime soon. He went into the kitchen and found none other than Ken with his hand in the cookie jar. Literally. "Ah, hey," Ken said nervously as he put down the jar, but continued taking out a cookie. Izuku sighed. "I'll let it slide this time, but being in class while sleepy is going to be a real pain, you know." Ken shrugged and immediately scarfed down the cookie. Izuku shook his head and walked up to the fridge and pulled out a pre-made meat bowl. As Izuku went to heat it up, Ken kept staring at him for a while, before eventually saying something. "So, how can you just keep going?" "What do you mean?" Izuku asked as he took the clear wrap off the bowl and placed it in the microwave. "Okay, why do you want to help people so much?" Ken asked, looking genuinely confused. "Like, you wanted to be a hero for so long, even though the world was treating you like crap the entire time. How?" "Well," Izuku paused, taking a minute to really think about it. "I'm not sure I can fully answer that. It just never dissuaded me. Part of that was probably just because I blamed myself for a lot of the things I went through, but overall, I can't really give you a good answer for that." "So you're just that good of a guy, huh?" Ken sighed, looking a bit discouraged. "And then there's me. I wonder about that." Izuku frowned. "At the end of the day, no matter what, I can't think of myself as anything but a people pleaser. Me and Sue are ultimately not too different. However, people pleasers aren't always good people, as the people they want to please may not be good either. I wonder, if I'd never seen a hero, never got that dream, what would have become of me? But something that worries me even more is a time not too long ago, just before Eri found me. I was so desperate for a purpose. I would have done anything if I thought it might make someone happy, if I was someone worth taking advantage of. I wonder what someone could have convinced me to do, or if I would ever be able to stop with that messed up mind of mine." Izuku turned to Ken. "Ken, why do you want to be a hero? You don't seem to like people all too much. You've made that very clear. As much as you love being praised, I don't think you're willing to risk your life for it, especially when you could get it in other ways. And it's not like you need any more money. So what's your real reason?" Ken hesitated, but eventually he spoke. "Sis was always better with people than I was. She probably would have made more friends if it wasn't for me. So she liked the idea of helping people out as a hero. And so I just went along with it. It's not like I hated the idea. I don't hate people. I get that there are good, innocent people out there, and I do want to help them out. Plus, I always like the idea of beating up bad guys, so I can kill a couple birds with one stone. But your main goal is to protect your sister," Izuku said. "I mean, I'd kind of be a bad brother if I didn't. Well, a worse brother." Ken pouted. "And don't tell her about any of this. It's embarrassing." Izuku smiled. "I won't. But I do have one piece of advice for you. While helping others is extremely fulfilling, it's also one of the most draining things you can do. So don't forget to help yourself too. Being just a bit selfish isn't always a bad thing. And just because you did something wrong doesn't mean you need to sacrifice your own happiness to make it right. Please remember that." Ken frowned and looked down at his Omnitrix. "Sure. But what about you? Are you going to be more selfish?" Izuku sighed as he took out his meal. "I can try. And who knows? Maybe one day far into the future, with the help of my therapist and the support of my family, maybe one day, I'll willingly take a day off." And that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed. Please make sure to support the writer. And don't forget to like, sub, and leave a comment. Till next time.